Okay, we'll call this meeting the order of the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors, January the 29th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Leyland.
Here.
Schwartz.
Here.
Trelka.
Here.
White.
Here.
Little.
Here. Would you please join us in a moment of silence? Can you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Moving on to item 1, agenda received as proposed or amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 2 is public comments. Is there anybody who'd like to address the board? It's not an agenda item. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to claims and payments. Susan?
The county's expenditures this week total $213,209.98, 213,209.98.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Leyland.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Trelka.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Little.
Yes. And item B.
We have one invoice we're paying for Country View this week. Total is $713.47. We'll have the county's bill for benefits paid in January. We'll probably do that next week. And then we're also going to have, we had to do a sewer line repair out there. We're going to have those bills coming due. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Trelka.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Okay, item 4 is our presentation. This is an update from the Cedar Valley Alliance and Chamber. Morning, Eric.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah. Eric Johnson, not here on legal matters today, here in my volunteer capacity.
Well, this ain't gonna cost us.
No. Well, it might, but not for me. One of my volunteer endeavors in the community is I'm on the board of the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance and currently serve as chair of that board. And as you know, the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance was formed about 10 years ago to try to spur more collaboration within the Cedar Valley, and also to try and spur economic development, try and help those businesses currently here expand and trying to recruit new businesses to the community. It's done a good job over those years, but like all organizations, you need to take a step back and look at yourself and make changes as necessary, and that's the process that we have been involved with in the last year. We've had some focus groups run by you and I, looking at how the community sees us, how the businesses in the community see us, and we've tried to listen to that and make changes to some of that feedback we've received. And one of the reasons we're here today is to ask for your re-engagement in the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance. At one point, you were quite engaged, and that has fallen off. And that engagement takes two forms. It takes a bit of a financial engagement, but also, more importantly in that, it takes your presence, your involvement. There's a designated board seat for the county that has not been filled for some time, and we'd like to talk about that. But I'm going to introduce Carrie Dara, our CEO, and she's going to talk about why it makes sense for you to be engaged. I just wanted to set the table a little bit.
Thank you.
Carrie Dara, CEO, Greater Cedar Valley Alliance and Chamber. And while I don't want to correct my board chair, we actually will be celebrating our 15-year anniversary this year. So, but it just, time flies, so I appreciate that. So with that anniversary, as Eric said, we've done a lot of refocusing, refreshing, regrouping. And so we've had leadership changes, as you can see. But our number one priority is to help grow the Cedar Valley. And how we do that comes in several different formats. We have economic inclusion that we help convene with the many collaborative partners in the Cedar Valley, knowing that there are pockets of people out there that can contribute to our economy and our workforce that we need to reach, and we need to help remove whatever obstacles we can to help them be productive part of our workforce. We're part of our business education relationship with Leader Valley. But most importantly, we know that we need to collaborate with all the many other stakeholders in the Cedar Valley that are doing things similar to us. But no one is doing what we do in bringing those folks together countywide and region-wide. So as Eric said, we do have a designated seat on our board that we would welcome you to participate in. We'd look forward to having your engagement. And we would be prepared and would like to give you either quarterly or semi-annual, whatever you prefer, updates on our progress in what we're doing. So again, thank you for your time today. We know that we've got a lot of work to do, but we look forward to having you help us get that work done.
Okay, is there any questions?
And we have Jim Schaefer here. Jim will, we've been making a point of attending more of the Cedar Falls and Waterloo City Council meetings, as well as the Board of Supervisors meetings, so you'll see Jim or me or one member of our staff that will try to attend most of your meetings. Jim is our Investor Relations Director, and I believe he put on at your space there our Leader Valley magazine, and that is our publication that goes along with our website that helps us address the workforce need, and it helps us, as Eric says, set the table for why the Cedar Valley, why Blackhawk County, why this region is a good place for people to live and to work and to stay. Do you have anything else, Jim, you'd like to add?
No, I mean, that's the Live the Valley magazine is, we work with Courier on that. But, as Terry said, it's more social media driven. That is how people are finding information. And we're just trying to promote the attributes of the Cedar Valley as a good place to live, work, play. Those people that maybe moved away years ago but are looking to come back to the Cedar Valley to raise their family. We're just talking about what jobs are available. There's a job board available through Live the Valley, which is also on our website. We hired a young man that graduated from UNI. He was with us as an intern, but he started in December. And we're targeting areas across the Midwest with this information on a social media sense. And very pleased with the results that we have there. But we're just trying to re-engage with the business community, be out there, have the discussion, share information on what we're doing. And honestly, in the last 6 or 8 months, been very good, very positive things that have been happening, and we're definitely moving in the right direction. And we just want to re-engage. It'll be 2 years in April that I've been with the organization. I'm from the Cedar Valley, so it's been a good fit going out there just promoting the good things that the Cedar Valley has to offer, and look forward to working with you guys closer as well.
So in closing, once again, thank you for allowing us to be on your agenda. We know you're going into discussions soon with budget talks, so that's why we would like this request to be considered. But also, with our 15-year anniversary, you will see a new name, a new logo, a new messaging, and in March we'll be rolling out all of that information, and we'd love to have you there at the table. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then, moving on to item 5, receiving project updates from the department heads and/or elected officials.
Morning, Kathy.
Morning.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. Currently, all the graders and the trucks are out. We are trying to get all the gravel roads open to at least a lane and a half. By this evening, we do anticipate some of the gravel roads are going to blow shut. For example, out in the western portion of the county, University, Independence, and the eastern portion, Osage, some of those paved roads in the outlying areas, they probably are going to blow shut, as will some of the gravel roads. Tomorrow, we do not anticipate having any equipment out, no graders or trucks out. It's just simply too cold. The hydraulic lines are freezing up, and it's very hard to get the equipment to move properly at those temperatures. If there's an emergency, we will speak to the sheriff, and we will be in touch, and we will try to get somebody out there. But in general, we will not have equipment out running tomorrow. It's just too cold. Can I answer any questions?
You have that information on the web then, so people can see that.
Yes. And again, if people are looking for information on road conditions, they should go to the 511 website or call 511.
Okay,
you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? No, we're under elected officials, department heads.
I didn't hear you.
We're under elected officials and department heads right now. Okay, moving on to item 6, minutes approved for January the 22nd and January the 24th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We do have a hearing today, we'll get to that shortly. Item 8 is consent agenda, this will be made with a single resolution.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on the consent? Roll call, please.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Item 9 is the reports. This is a motion to receive, place on file the county auditor, Blackhawk County Sheriff's annual report for 2018. Tony.
Morning.
I sent this out PDF already to you.
Thank you.
However you want to review it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you've got a busy schedule today, so this is more question and answer time than me dog and pony time. So very few anomalous occurrences. Drug investigations were up this last year. That's kind of self-imposed. When we see those go up, it's because we've made an asserted effort to increase our activity in that respect. Property damage accidents went up. Again, that's the ebb and flow of what does weather do to us, how active our traffic enforcement, things of that nature. Our daily population, went through the roof last year. Our bookings did not. So what that's telling us is we're holding a whole lot more bad actors. We've never held more forcible felons than we're holding right now in the Blackhawk County Jail. For about 6 months, we were overpopulated, which means we actually had to hold people out of county. We don't have the luxury of a no vacancy sign at the Blackhawk County Jail. So as we continue to arrest, we continue to send people to other facilities and make arrangements. We have really good working relationships with a lot of other county sheriffs around and get pretty good asking prices for bed space other places, more than actually cheaper prices than what it would cost us to hold them in our facility. So when we do get overpopulated, right now we're just kind of at the threshold, which is nice, but we hope things kind of curb a bit. We know that the summer was very active here in Waterloo. The good thing is Waterloo was very good at catching them. And so we end up holding them. When they're facing forcible felonies, the court system purposely slows down so that we don't make a misstep. We don't afford them an opportunity for a mistrial. And so they stay their heads in our bed a lot longer. And so that clogs up the system, so to speak. And so that's attributable to why fewer bookends, but longer day periods and longer and higher populations. So all told, that's kind of the story of what happened with us this last year. As you know, I'm not going to bore you with all the finite details of the Jake Wilson case and all the other things. You can read about it, and you can see some of the other things that we've been very active with. We talked a little bit in budget about some of our mental health efforts, and that's covered in there. And I'm prideful of some of those things because we're seeing residual impact on a lot of that. You can see mental health transports were cut in half because of some of the things that we're doing here in the county that I'm prideful of. And as we bring the state along, so as goes Blackhawk County, so goes the state. And so some of what we're implementing as efforts here, they're emulating other places. And so we're happy that we are on the forefront of some of what we're trying to attempt and have them follow us. So any questions or anything that you see in there that either causes you concern or that you want to champion, or questions that the numbers bring to you?
No, but Tony, you mentioned the mental health population, and
Yes.
I don't know that that's changed too much as far as numbers.
There's no fewer people in the mental health system.
No, and that your jail has been one of the institutions that houses probably primarily the largest.
We're the largest,
that we have
yeah,
in
mental
this
health provider.
community. So I was wondering, for the public's benefit, is not just having this in front of them, too, some of the things that you are doing that.
Right, so we contract with a mental and medical services provider that functions only in the jail. That company is called NAFCare. They have a full-time mental health provider within our facility. That's a 40-hour-a-week provider. That used to be a mental health nurse that would triage for the mental health nurse practitioner and the mental health psychiatric practitioner. I think that's a psychiatrist that will come in and do mental health triage within our facility. Now it is a counselor, mental health counselor, certified counselor that's in our facility full-time. We also have a post-arrest diversion counselor that we contract with. I pay a large portion of a salary of a mental health licensed social worker through the Department of Corrections, and she triages those that get arrested who are acutely mentally ill that are very problematic for us. And so she works with the courts, with the judges, with the county attorney in establishing some sort of probation or parole setting that is agreeable to the courts, agreeable to the county attorney, agreeable to the public defender's office, and puts them in some sort of community-based placement or treatment that allows for them to kind of get them out of the criminal justice system and out of our jail setting, and still hold them accountable for whatever crime they've committed. So those are large programs within the confines of the jail that we do. Unfortunately, it's post-arrest diversion, which isn't the greatest diversion effort, but it's effective. And so those are large programs. We have been very active with the Crisis Stabilization Center out at the Youth Detention Center, which is a fantastic resource. I've been very active both on the state level as well as working with county social services here, and we're getting ready to open the Adult Access Center here, which is both a subacute as well as a no eject, no reject facility in hopes to get some pre-arrest diversion going. I've been working very closely with Pathways Behavioral Services on their detox program because we know we've got a lot of people that kind of have this dual diagnosis, dual occurrence thing going on, both mental health as well as some sort of substance abuse. So we've been working very closely with Pathways Behavioral Services on that front as well. We meet quarterly with the hospitals. Both hospitals, Allen and Covenant, have been very aggressive in their emergency room triage for mental health clients, and some of their development. They've done actual construction out there for the emergency room treatment, and that's specifically helpful for law enforcement, but particularly for sheriff's offices, because the courts direct the sheriffs to do a lot of those transports, a lot of those emergency committals, a lot of those kinds of things. That all comes to the sheriff. And so when you have those kind of places for confinement and those places that are a little more protective for that kind of clientele and those kind of patients, it makes it a whole lot easier for us to do our job. So we've been very involved in the whole gamut of mental health, and I'm happy. Like I say, as goes Blackhawk County, it seems the state is following our efforts in a lot of those ways.
Thank you.
That was a whole lot of stuff in a short amount of time. But
Okay, then, if there's anything else, thanks a lot, Sheriff.
thank you, guys.
Thanks, Tony.
Have a good day.
Okay, then, moving on to item 10.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. We
make-
need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 10, this is a motion at the request for purchase of capital equipment submitted by Catherine Nicholas. This is for a tribal survey equipment, $54,071. Kathy.
Yeah, so this is a request from our FY19 budget. As you know, our surveyor resigned, so we're getting a late start on purchasing this equipment. We do still need the equipment. We use this equipment. This is a global positioning equipment that we use for every bridge project, every roadway project we design. We need this equipment. The equipment we currently have is 10 to 15 years old, just depending on the piece of equipment. We did get quotes from two similar vendors, Trimble and Topcon. We definitely preferred the Trimble due to the dealership, the service we would receive. There's numerous entities in the Cedar Valley, the City of Waterloo, the City of Cedar Falls, numerous consultants who use the Trimble equipment. We felt like everyone's receiving good service, and we would appreciate that, to have a local service available. We like the operating system, and we also like the rechargeable battery portion of the Trimble. So I would like to recommend that we be allowed to purchase the Trimble equipment.
Obviously, you got somebody who can operate it, or
Yes, we do still have a survey technician, and with a little bit of training, we're hopeful that several of our technician aides should be able to.
and you weren't going to rehire another surveyor?
Correct. We are not currently looking at
Okay.
rehiring a surveyor.
And Kathy, just you reinforced, you mentioned there's a considerable amount of downtime by that changing out of batteries, or that different system was something that was,
Yes, we currently have Topcon products, and they have internal batteries, and so that means we have to send it back. We have to send it to the dealer. There's only one dealer here in Iowa, so we have to send it in, and they have to unwire it from the piece of equipment, change the battery, hardwire it back in, and then send it back to us. So that can take up to a week just to service the battery. So we really like the idea of a rechargeable battery, kind of like a power tool. You just switch out the battery pack and bring it back in and charge the batteries.
Anybody else? You have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item C, or B, this is motion, travel request submitted by Chris Swartz, County Supervisor, be approved for $1,096 to attend the NACO conference in Washington DC, March 2nd through the 6th.
So moved.
Second.
Chris?
Yeah, if anyway, any questions? I mean, this is so NACO does two major conferences each year. This is their legislative conference, which is always held in Washington, D.C. It provides multiple days of workshops covering a whole wide range of issues, and I've got a schedule that of all the things I plan to attend that have it highlighted. I'll put back in the routing folder. But it's and then in addition to all the workshops, it also includes some policy setting sessions for NACO itself, as well as opportunities to interact with federal lawmakers. And so one thing I'll note that I thought that the hotels in Washington D.C. are really expensive, and so it was like $280 a night, some of them, and so I reached out to friends and found a place to stay at a savings of about $1,900. And so this is just to cover the cost of getting there, and then half of it is the registration fee itself. And so I think it's a good opportunity to learn from other counties and see what innovative things are happening, but also make sure that we've got a voice at the table when NACO sets its priorities.
Hey, does anybody else got any questions?
I appreciate the fact that you reached out to friends, but I know that's not always going to be possible.
Right, absolutely.
It is considerable savings, so thank you.
Yes.
Okay, do you have a motion on this?
So moved. I think we did. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on now to item C. This is a resolution to support the funding and creation of Iowa Natural Resource Outdoor and Recreation Trust Fund.
And I introduced this resolution. I forgot to grab a copy of my language. I'm happy to read it. And sometimes we had a conversation a couple weeks ago during the Conservation Department's budget presentation, and just the frustration was expressed by all of us that this fund has not been allowed to go forward, even though the voters in 2010 overwhelmingly approved it, which is definitely a bipartisan majority of the voters approving it, and we thought that there'd be some power in us now as a bipartisan board sending a message to the state legislature to honor the will of the
So we're
voters.
just actually sending a letter of support.
Yes.
I can't understand why we have a law that we don't utilize. I liken it to having a hammer in my toolbox, but using my crescent wrench to pound in a nail.
Right.
And our community has overwhelmingly supported this, and it's time it comes to fruition.
And I can pull up a copy of the resolution if folks would like me to read it. I can get it on my phone here really quick.
I was going to say, Chris, is the letter of support going to be from the board? I was going to say,
Yes.
what I didn't notice in the resolution that you provided was a mention of that 3/8 of a cent. I thought that was something, at least in the letter or somewhere in the resolution, we should mention that, and the amount, like you said, of what that generates.
So we can add
for
another
projects.
whereas line that is the 3/8 cents. Okay.
Because it is unfortunate they haven't passed it, but I just thought that
Yeah.
we're looking at as a positive thing by doing this and what it could do for our state.
Okay, anybody got anything else? This is a resolution, so
So moved.
Second.
roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Jelka,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item D. This is discussion that the endorsement from Blackhawk County for the UNI Center for Energy and Environment Education solar workshops to be held throughout Blackhawk County during the months of February and March.
Morning, Rory.
Good morning, Board. Rory Giving, Maintenance Superintendent. I'm here as representing the Alternative Energy Committee. As I hope most of you had a chance to see the minutes from our last meeting that we had here just recently. UNI, CEEE, Center for Energy and Environmental Education, Program Manager Eric Giddens was at that meeting and approached us with a group buy program that they are looking at partnering up with a company called Eagle Point Solar. Eagle Point Solar has actually been in front of this board previously, talking about some, our solar ideas and plans for our facilities here at the county. But this particularly is a program that UNI is seeking the board's endorsement. And so I'd like to introduce Eric Giddens from UNI to speak to this. So with that being said, Eric.
Thank you, Rory. Eric Giddens, Program Manager for the at the Center for Energy and Environmental Education at UNI. Can I approach and give you a handout that I apologize wasn't good with you
Thank you.
earlier?
Thank you.
And it's just a draft at this point.
Thank you.
So I'll just tell you briefly what this program is. It's a two-part program, really. The first part of which is a series of educational seminars that we will offer on solar energy. So how does solar installations work on homes, businesses, farm settings, and why somebody would do that for the environmental, but also the economic benefits that they could see if they did such an installation. We've got 11 different workshops set up over the months of February and March. The dates and locations are all included there. They're throughout Blackhawk County. We made an effort to include locations in Cedar Falls, Waterloo, Evansdale, and Hudson, and out at Hawkeye Community College is one location in the southeast part of the Cedar Valley area. So the educational component is the first part. The second part is anybody who participates in these workshops will be offered the opportunity to have a free assessment of their property done by Eagle Point Solar. So Eagle Point can do the same kind of assessment that they've done for you, for the county buildings, to show folks, how a solar installation could benefit them economically with their own offsetting of utility usage. So following that, anybody who chooses to purchase an installation from Eagle Point Solar during a defined amount of time, so we're going to limit this to February, March, and April. They'll be grouped together into a bundle that, Eagle Point will then, due to the volume, be able to offer discounted rates for those solar installations. So we see it as a benefit to residents, businesses throughout Blackhawk County. It certainly helps meet our mission of more renewable energy and better environmental stewardship. So what we're asking, because this is a Blackhawk County geography that we're targeting right now, is for your support, just in the form of a logo on the marketing materials. So in this draft that I've shown you, this hasn't gone out at all. We did that so that you could see what we have in mind in terms of a placement of a logo on these marketing materials, just to kind of show your support. So
we're actually just endorsing the concept in the different workshops, but we're not endorsing Eagle Point.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We are partnering with Eagle Point for this group buy program that we're doing right now. Eagle Point approached us with that. It certainly fit our mission, our goals as a center at UNI. We haven't been approached yet by other companies, but we're not opposed to talking to other companies who might be interested in doing something like this as well in the future. So the workshops are our workshops, and that's what we're asking for your endorsement of.
I know when we had the presentation by Eagle Point, we did have some companies that contacted the county and said, we're basically here too.
Sure. If you hear of those, you can route them our way, and we'd be happy to have discussions with them.
Okay, does anybody else got any questions?
No, I mean, I think it's a good program, and you already discussed the one concern we had is that this would be open to any other company that would approach them.
How would you go about that? I guess if there were others that were interested, what would your approach be? You obviously wouldn't just have another series. I wouldn't think of the same information.
Yeah, there are possibilities of other geographic locations. I mean, this is the first time we've attempted a program like this, so we're doing it in Blackhawk County because this is where we live, and what we'd like to work on first, so there's possibilities of other geographies, certainly other times. These are limited duration programs, so February, March, April, this spring is what we're doing right now. So in the future, other time spans and other locations, there's all kinds of possibilities there. So if we were approached, we'd discuss those possibilities.
Okay. Anybody
There
else?
were in the minutes, there were several questions that were unanswered, I think, from the county's perspective on even utilizing the solar panels. I think we talked about the life expectancy and how you dispose of them and that type of thing. Not that that would be a part of this, obviously, but it would for residential people, the interest in that. Have those all been addressed? I mean, are questions answered for you sufficiently, I guess, enough to have workshops and be able to address?
We don't have any concern about those types of. I mean, I think what you were referring to was disposal of solar equipment after its useful life, which could be more than 40 years or so. And in our view, the environmental benefits far outweigh any concerns about disposal of solar panels down the road. So that's not a concern of ours. Those questions, those technical questions, though, Eagle Point is prepared to answer and answer better than I am, and we defer those to them because they're the ones that will be installing that equipment. So,
Eric, if another company does want to be involved, they can simply contact you at this number, 319-273-7499?
Yes.
Because there are probably, I don't think there are any in Blackhawk County, but there's probably, 15 to 20 maybe in the state.
That's right. And again, we're happy to have those discussions. Yep.
Okay, then.
My concern was that the public might recognize it or consider it something that we're endorsing, and Eagle, obviously being the company,
Sure.
would look at it that way too, but
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
thanks very much.
All right. can we proceed with the?
Well, it's not on the
logo?
agenda today for approval,
Okay,
Have to vote.
so this will have to come back at a later date,
okay.
and then to see if the board approves it.
What was your timeline, Eric? Because I know you mentioned in here you were going to go forward regardless of whether we.
Yeah,
endorse it or not, but-
so the first workshop is February 16th. You can see on the schedule there, and we're actually planning on doing a mailer this week to send out. So, you know, I guess if you're not ready to put the logo on it right now, we're probably, just due to our timing, we're probably going to have to send the first round of mailers without the logo. But then whenever you know, we are going to chunk those in 4 different rounds. So whenever you do make that decision, if you choose to be included there, then maybe in the next round of mailings we can add it on.
We do have a
have a
budget
meeting.
work session Thursday that this could be added to that agenda if we were ready to make that decision then. So
Okay.
That may not be soon enough, but if it is.
Yeah, we'll talk about our timing for the various different marketing modes we're utilizing for this. And if we just need to get some things out right now, we won't include it. And then whenever you let us know for subsequent rounds, we'll put it on there. So, okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then, moving on to item E. This is a motion to direct the county auditor to advertise for a public hearing. This will be on Tuesday, February the 12th, and this is on a change on a proposed ordinance 77-223, request for Million and Abby Erkelman south of 8902 Dysart Road to rezone 5.18 acres from A to AR.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next item is a resolution at the minor plat of survey submitted by Mark Gunderson to minor plat 7.1 acres located on 11842 Gibson Road. Seth?
Okay, I'll just go ahead and read it. Or see if I can get it up here.
It should be coming.
Oh, okay, we got it. Okay, yeah, the Planning and Zoning Commission at the regular meeting, January 15, 2018, reviewed the request by Mark Gunderson to plat 7.1 acres into 2 lots with 2.44 acre zoned AR, Agricultural Residential District, and 4.66 acre zoned A Agricultural District in order to allow for the construction of 1 new single-family home. Plat area in question is located at 11842 Gibson Road, which is adjacent to the West Eagle Road and Gibson Road intersection. The site is only 2,200 feet away from unincorporated Voorhees, Iowa, and basically, yeah, the request to plat 7.1 acres to allow for the construction of a single-family home. It was moved by Stack and seconded by Enchan to approve the request to plat 7.1 acres in order to build a new single-family home. Motion to approve carried unanimously. The applicant's request to rezone 2.44 acres from A Agricultural District to AR Agricultural District was approved by the Board of Supervisors on December 18, 2018. The remaining 4.66 acres of the original 7.1 acre parcel is zoned A Agricultural District and has been since the adoption of the Blackhawk County zoning ordinance.
Okay, board's got any questions on this? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item G. This is discussion of the memorandum agreement with Salvation Army allowing the county to use their parking lot for employee parking located at 415 East 7th Street.
Good morning.
Who's got this one?
Dana.
Okay, back in late November, early December, Frank and Craig asked Pete and I to put together a memorandum of understanding with the Salvation Army that will allow our employees to park in their parking lot off of Franklin Street. That right now that building is empty. I put together the agreement. Pete reviewed it, PDCM reviewed it, and the Salvation Army, their legal department reviewed it. I don't I mean, I really don't have any much more information on how it was put together, so I know Frank, or Craig, you have more
Yeah.
background on it than I do.
The main thing is that we've got people parking on the streets, down the streets here. And a prime example is right now what's happening with the weather and stuff. These people shouldn't be parking up, shouldn't be on the street. We need to get them off the street and in a parking lot. And Frank and I seen the opportunity and went and talked to Salvation Army and got some things worked out. And there's no cost involved. Rory would do the plowing so we could have parking over there, and we'd probably clean the sidewalk too. That way we'd save Salvation Army from having to come over there. That's the only thing we'd have invested in it. And my thought, and I think it was Frank's too, I won't speak for him, but was to, like I said, get these people off the street. It's a dangerous situation that we've got going.
Is that the parking lot spaces? I know there's like 2 parking lots with that building, so it is in both north and south of the
Right.
building. They could utilize
Both of
all
them.
space.
Both of them would utilize.
Did we poll any of the employees to see if they parked there?
Pardon me, Tom?
Talk to any employees to see if they parked there?
I don't see why they wouldn't. It's just as close there as it is. They're parking as much as 3 blocks now, so it's way closer than 3 blocks.
I know when I used to live in the neighborhood, I would, on my way walking to the courthouse, I'd see employees parking on those streets.
Do we, Rory,
Already.
is it, the condition on it is,
Yeah, month to month or?
Let me, I got something here for you that I put together real quickly that, if I can get it pulled up here.
Because the building's obviously for sale or going to be for sale probably soon if it's not
well,
already.
this agreement, I'm assuming it has an out in it.
Yeah, most definitely does.
There is something on there, I know that Salvation Army is looking to sell it, so in the agreement, we put in there that if they do sell it to somebody, that the agreement will be terminated within 30 days.
How many, Rory, do you estimate on this part? Because some of them that I've talked to said they wouldn't park on the other side.
Yeah, so let me go through this with you. 1 second here, I gotta find.
Yeah, the one part is quite close, is a lot closer.
Yeah, for some reason,
Okay.
they said they didn't feel safe on the other side.
Just to give you an idea, if you look here, I've got the 2 yellow lines. If you see this first yellow line here, going from that yellow line to the south, that would represent the south side of the Salvation Army. If you go out to the further yellow line, that would represent the north side of the Salvation Army. So an estimate of vehicles on the south side of Salvation Army would be approximately 24 vehicles. On the north side, it would be about 40 vehicles. And that literally is just taking our employee lot, which is the same dimensions, and just kind of incorporating that into the Salvation Army lot. So to answer your question, 24 on this side, 40 on the other. To answer your question about the condition of the parking lot, I did go over there actually, and I took some closer pictures. Unfortunately, I couldn't find those pictures. So I did pictometry, and I just wanted to identify just a couple areas. And it wasn't terrible, but there are a couple areas right here where you see my mouse. You can kind of see there, kind of in this area, it was degraded somewhat. Not to the point that we couldn't snow plow. We could still plow this, but you know, that potentially could be a concern, tripping hazard that we would want to
Are
address.
we gonna, do we have to mark them off?
With the yellow lines?
Yeah.
For the back parking lot for this one, I think we would.
Because you wouldn't get to that until spring anyway.
Right. We were actually trying to accomplish that before winter. Unfortunately, that did not happen. We didn't have the memorandum of understanding in place yet.
So the only cost we'll probably have is snow removal.
We'll have some cost to doing the lines, not a whole lot. We'll do that in-house. We'll have some cost on snow removal with regards to the outsourced company that we have that hauls the snow away. Just to kind of give you an idea, they charge by the hour, but to give you an idea for this parking lot, depending obviously on the amount of snow, but we could be anywhere in the range of $275 all the way up to $500 per event. So that would be the cost to the county to physically haul the snow away after we've plowed it. And that's literally based off of, again, what we've seen in the employee parking lots. So yeah, got one more picture of the front. You'll see in the front picture, you'll see they've already got a number of the yellow lines already identified, although up here on the west side, they're very faded and hard to see, so we would touch that up as well. So that's what I've been able to put together with regards to this lot so far.
And painting the lines is no issue for them, as far as if they were to sell it or whatever. It's not that we're doing something that...
I wouldn't think so, no.
The one question I had for you is, it said to maintain the parking lot for snow removal and repairs. That's repairs, things that we would damage in the case that we would damage it, not their repairs.
You know, I actually have not seen the MOU, but I would imagine that's exactly what that means. If we're plowing, we cause damage to it, we would be responsible for those repairs. As far as the potholes, potential trip hazards, that's very minor. That's something that we can address fairly easy with just some cold patch or hot patch. And in the past, we've worked with secondary roads when their trucks out and about. They'll make a stop at our parking lots, and they've been very good to work with us in the past in maintaining our parking lots. So I foresee that being a very small cost. More so snow removal for the outsourced, and the other thing would be our time as a staff. That's a whole additional parking lot that we would have to be responsible for, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into our budget discussions with my department if this were to go through.
You've talked. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You've talked in the past about the parking issues, and I think we know that the county definitely needs parking. Do we know how many people park on the street? Just kind of the one.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring my. I've sent this to the board a couple of times, but I think in the memo that I've sent to the board, I've identified how many spots were deficient or how many employees.
That, but I didn't know how many were actually parking on the street versus how many are parking on lots.
Well, I guess it's safe to assume that that number that I showed as being deficient, and I want to say that might be around 80, if I'm not mistaken. And that's considering every employee being here on that particular day, which that's give or take. That's a pretty substantial amount of people potentially parking on the street, because if our lots are full, there's really nowhere else for them to go other than on the street. So I know that seems like a very high number to think that there's 80 people parking on the street, but that's worst case scenario.
I know the one thing that always surprised me is how many cars that are parked on the street get struck. So I appreciate the initiative that Craig and Frank took on this.
Yeah, and just to give you just one other little piece of information, with our department, we've had some feedback over the years with employees that have to park on the street that are further down, and if this time of the year, it's very dark. There's not a lot of light along those streets, so there are some concerns with that as well. So.
I do park on this area back over there, kind of off of, I think that's Mulberry. I don't really speak for everybody, but I don't know if I would park on this street on the other side of the building, on Franklin Street, especially at night when I have to walk all the way across there. But I don't speak for everybody.
And I've gotten that feedback as well from other employees. So.
Well, we certainly can't beat the cost. It's very kind of them or generous of them, I guess, to even allow us to do it, to try it out. I mean, see if people would use it or
You'll
not.
find out how many days the out is, because we find out that
It's 30, wasn't it?
people aren't using it at all, then we can move on. But okay.
Okay, anybody else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item H. This is a resolution of the civil money penalty assessed by Centers for Medicare Medicaid Services against Country View Care Center. The date was January the 9th. The net amount of $14,217.45. Is that right, Susan?
Yes.
Okay. Be paid And the right to appeal the hearing on there is waived.
So moved.
I think we've seen some memos on this.
Sorry.
Yes. Do you want me to speak to it just briefly?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Okay. This was due to a citation that was received last fall during our survey. The issue was that our bed rails were not in compliance with the regulations. There were no residents that were harmed as a result of this. But we were not in compliance. We corrected that issue, but we received this penalty as a result of that.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
Second the motion.
Where's the funding going to come from?
From the Country View funds.
Is that your motion, Craig?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Okay, it is 9:50. We're going to our hearing.
Motion to
This-
receive and place.
No, that's all right. We're on the proposed Pinecrest restroom remodel.
Motion to receive and place on file, proof of publication.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second?
Are there any written comments?
I don't believe so. I haven't. No, sir.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, bids to be received, open, and read. The deadline was 8:30 Tuesday, January the 29th, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And all bids were received by that time. Just to give you just a real quick, brief summary of this project, as you recall, this is the model of the 2 lower restrooms on first floor at Pinecrest, with the goal in mind of making these restrooms ADA accessible. So this was a project we put together last year, and again, that was our main focus point, was to get these 2 restrooms ADA accessible. So
We got 5 bidders,
yes,
okay, and the budgeted amount was $150,000.
yes.
Okay.
All right. First bid received from Don Gardner Construction Company out of Waterloo, Iowa. Base bid, $58,120.
Bid bond included.
Bid bond is included, yes. Second bid is Failer Hurley Construction, Waterloo, Iowa, $58,300. Bid bond is included. Third bid, Huff Contracting, Waterloo, Iowa, $58,736. Bid bonds included. Fourth bid, Cook Building Company out of Cedar Falls, Iowa, $51,885. Last one, number 5, Woodruff Construction, $500.
You didn't on the last one talk about the bond, Rory, but I'm assuming
Yes, bonds received. Sorry about that.
it's okay.
That it?
That is it.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to review and place on file.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Take about 5-minute recess so Susan gets set up and ready to go. We'll start back here at 10 o'clock. Didn't he say?
Yeah.
No, thank you for coming.
Are you on foot? Are you on way? I'm not sure
We'll, the way we usually do.
Have a good day, Greg.
You too, Pete. They're all people that spend it, whether they get any money now, we'll reply with a letter. So if we don't fund anything to a certain, we still send a letter.
Have we already made that request?
No, you haven't made that request yet. I'm gonna.
Well, the dollar amount, you can send a letter to Susan if you want to.
Yeah, I would think.
Just send a letter to Susan, so when we go over them, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm
And then,
not sure.
and then if it's included in this year's budget cycle, we'll ask you to come and make a presentation, probably a short one, just to address what it's for, used for. Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. I heard you had the water, I know. No, but it was in the building enough to affect you, so I just thought, oh, isn't that fun? Everybody's, that's what I thought. It's a meeting of all kinds of locations. Oh, what a mess.
Wayne, wanting to talk.
Yeah, Senator Brown, Friday evening, you're giving him a tour earlier.
Yeah.
This one thought that you want something considered this year. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
She'll get that copy. Isn't it?
Hard copy or email?
It could be either.
Either or, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, super. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yes.
Yep, thank you. Probably about 10 years ago. We were only with him 2 or 3 years. We were with him years ago, and then we started back up. But to be honest with you, I really don't do anything for the county. Well, I mean, for us, they don't do it.
Right.
And then plus the fact that we're paying X amount of money now to lobbyists.
Yeah.
They come in one time, one doesn't tip. We pretty much threw them out the door.
I mean, there is a lot of new leadership there.
Well, there is, but you gotta figure what their charter is to do, how much business has the county handled the last 10, 15 years. We had one.
So Nafisa, do you have your presentation up there? Okay.
How do I get it on this big screen?
Yeah, Rory, can
Where
you?
you got it on? Jeez, I'll take another recess. There you go.
So, okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. So I'd like to take this opportunity just to give the Board of Supervisors an update on the Health Department and some of the reasons why we request our property tax dollars. So for me, this is actually an exciting opportunity. So as you all know, we've gone through quite a bit of changes over the past 2 years. And those changes were intentional, but also very difficult. We've lost quite a number of staff. But the main reason was really to review our contracts, our programs, and be very intentional about our vision and mission, and also where we need to be as a health department. So this organizational structure that you see is a work in progress, but we're getting there. It was established to create a more unified structure and understanding of public health. About 2 years ago, Mr. Trecca, we had two divisional structures. It wasn't running as cohesively as we would have preferred. And so now you see a more unilateral organizational structure where you have myself, a public health director, a deputy director, and then you have the program managers. And right now we have been functioning really well. We do have some vacancies that we need to fill. When I started, we were a staff of 120, and now we are approximately 50. And the reason for that is, one, we subcontracted the home health program, which roughly had about, I would say, 11 staff. But we are still doing the services. It's just that there are home health entities that do it better than the health department. And so right now it's Visiting Nurses Association that does it. And then we didn't renew our school nursing services with Cedar Falls and Waterloo School District, which had a huge number of staff that we were supporting for those services. But I am excited that it's Covenant Hospital and also Unity that is doing the nursing services. I think that's more idealistic and it's more direct services. So that's where we're at right now organizationally with our structure. So I'm here also to talk to the Board of Supervisors in terms of what is currently our role as a health department. And NACHO, which is the National Association of Cities and County Health Organizations, encourages local health departments to adapt the role of a community health strategist. So this is just a picture of it, but I'll go into the next slide, which will kind of explain what it is in a non-technical public health terms. But the main focus for us as a health department is to focus on the foundational public health services, which are what we call the essential services of public health. So you have assessment and surveillance, emergency preparedness and response, policy development and support, communication, community partnership development, organizational administrative competencies, and accountability and performance management. So we focus in these areas by looking at things in a very programmatic way as it relates to communicable disease control, chronic disease and injury prevention, environmental public health, maternal, child, and family health, and access to linkage with clinical care. So the reason why they wanted us to establish the community health strategist is so that we lead in a multi-sector approach to focus community resources on improving specific health outcomes. So it's not always like the role of the health department. You know, now we're more intentional in saying who best within the community can do this. And if, for example, I receive funds from the state, my number one question is it the role of the health department, or do we have other community organizations that need these funds and do a great job at it, such as the home health program? So less about direct care, more about policy. A few years ago, we did have to focus on direct care. So that's why you see the health department taking the role on with school nurses. But right now, that's not the role of public health. Public health is more on the preventative and promotion of health. And so programs tailored to emerging needs and populations. We have demographic changes that are currently going on in Black Hawk County. So are we meeting the needs of those demographic changes? Convening coalitions, that's very critical in us understanding health, and partnering with healthcare and diverse sectors, and being more upstream focused. And the very simplistic way that I was thinking, like, how can I explain to the Board of Supervisors what that means? But imagine yourself standing in front of a river and you see like a kid drowning. And so all of you just jump in and you grab a kid. And then you see another kid. You do the same thing. You do the same thing. But at least one or two of you, I hope, will say, what's going on with all these kids being thrown in the river? Like, who's doing that? What's causing that, right? So being more strategic and understanding the root causes of diseases and taking on that approach. And so with us now as an agency, we are really focusing on health equity and understanding the social determinants of health, because we know the place in which people reside has a profound impact on their health outcomes. And so my staff over the next couple of months will do quite a bit of training in regards to that, and real time and new data. So I say, we have to stop on creating these mom and pop programs or initiative. It has to be more strategic so that it can be more sustainable. So how will the health department get there? So we are now considered an agency, it's called the Emerging Leaders in Public Health. We were awarded by the Kresge Foundation $125,000 this upcoming 18 months, which is funding for us to do whatever we need for our community. And so one of the things that I've done is to build training in terms of my leadership, in terms of even at the executive level, but also staff. We really need training in regards to understanding public health and health equity. And also we will use those funds to convene a coalition that is intentional and strategic about addressing some of the root causes of these chronic or infectious diseases that you see. And so I'm very excited about this because I get to see how creative we can be. And actually, for me, it's looking at models that have been done with other health departments. And so we are bringing consultants in that will help us do that. We've looked at our health department clinical structure, and I must say the 5th floor Pinecrest building is not a conducive clinical structure, but we make do with what we have. So before it was only once a week, now we have twice a week, which we're open on Mondays as well. And now we're also implementing self-collection, in which people can just stop in and leave specimens for testing. And so we're excited about that. Another thing that's going on is that the state has also collaborated with pharmacies to do HIV testing, which is really exciting because it's the non-traditional. And so we have partner with the pharmacies so that in case of any kind of results that they, in particular reactive results, they can link to the health department so we can follow up. So that's exciting. I hope that in a couple of years we can actually transition from the 5th floor because it is really not an ideal place for the community to come in and get tested. The community health needs assessment, we have launched our community health needs assessment. We've actually been working with our hospital entities. And also in the next few weeks, we're gonna have NATRO come and help us convene a coalition that will that will train us on being more systematic with our community health needs assessment. So I'm very excited about this process and the data that's going to come out of what we as a county need to do in terms of preventative efforts. Public health accreditation, this is one of the things that the Board of Health has tasked me since my appointment, and I am excited to inform the board that we'll be submitting for our application for public health accreditation February of 2019. So in the next couple of weeks, so which means that it will be very intense for us for the next year or so in terms of documentation and training and just getting the department in shape to receive accreditation. So with that said, this is just, we have our budget guiding principles that I like to inform the board when I work with staff in terms of presenting a budget, we always look at our community health needs assessment. So what are we doing, or what do we need to do to protect and promote the health of residents and visitors in Black Hawk County? What have we not done in terms of our strategic planning? What have we stated in our health improvement plan that we need to do? And then we take into account federal and state budget decreases or increases. And also, we just completed a workforce development survey results. And so this guides me in terms of some of the trainings that needs to occur within staff. And with that said, I kind of will tag team with Susan a bit. So as I've stated earlier, right now we're approximately 50 FTEs within the health department in our budget. So for fiscal year 20, we're not requesting much. We're requesting $2,488,973, which is an increase of $149,847. So it's about a 6.41% increase. I didn't anticipate this, but also I have to take into account some of our state and federal increases or decreases that come. So you see with our revenues. And then also our operating expense increased a bit, and I was just talking to Susan about that, which is just some PHEP, which is preparedness, emergency preparedness funds that we pass through some of those funds to other counties because we're an eight county coalition now. Okay.
So I don't really have much to add. In your packet, there's the summary of the health department budget. Obviously, there's significant changes due to the elimination of the Waterloo School nursing contract, mainly between what was adopted in FY19 and what we're looking at for FY20. So that revenue and expenditures was about $1,050,000. But you can see the staffing summary is in your packet also, the reduction from 71 last year down to 50 FTEs this year, and also where those positions have changed because the health department has done some restructuring, changing of positions and so forth. But basically that operating expenditure number, that is due to that PHEP grant, as Nafisa mentioned, which is offset by grant revenue, which overall the grant revenue increased. So that really is just an offset there. And they have no capital items that they're requesting this year. Last year they had a vehicle that they purchased, so.
Yes, and we just got the vehicle, and so one of the things I wanted to make sure to always do is just to test out the vehicle, see how it works. It's for rural areas, and then inform the board of where we're at with that. So.
Did you keep the other one then, of the truck?
We have it.
You're going to keep both of them?
I don't know that we've met together to decide if we want to keep
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the new one's a four-wheel drive, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's an all-wheel drive, I
believe. Mm-hmm. It is.
Nafisa, you mentioned some positions you still have vacancies. Have they been long-term openings and unable to fill them, or?
So one of the ones that we've had that has been long-term and quite difficult is the nursing position, and it just has to do also, I think, partly with our wages with nursing. That's just difficult. We can't compete with hospitals, but we are aligned with the clinical model. But I just think that there's part of that, and as you know, I consider myself to be pretty transparent. But you know, with some of the changes that also happen with nursing, I think there's just a little bit of a pushback in terms of coming to the health department. But I think that position will be filled. The others, we're just waiting. We're working closely with HR. And one of the things I think for me has been an eye-opening is the review of our job descriptions. That has really helped us to align our organization to where it needs to be. And so, so I've been working with Debbie and making sure also we don't update these job descriptions to where also it's very difficult to hire. So we're being more intentional, but we'll see how in terms of the nursing. I think that's one of the things is just they get paid more than what we offer, and we also do need, we can't take those that are recent graduate because of the kind of work that we do, so we need those that have experience. So that's just been one of the challenging.
Okay. Does anybody else got any questions?
I just want to congratulate you on getting so close to submitting your application for accreditation. I know you've all worked really hard on that for a number of years. And I was wondering, just as you go through the community health needs assessment, and I think the picture will become clearer about what public health needs we maybe still aren't meeting in the community and stuff. And I know one issue that I've been seeing a lot about recently is this whole recurrence of preventable diseases through people not being vaccinated. And I'm just wondering if maybe you'll know more after going through that, but if that's something that there's indicators of being concerned in this community or not.
So one of the things we are planning on doing is that in the next couple of months, we do have to rebrand ourselves. I feel that the community really doesn't know that the health department is here. And so I think part of it is to rebrand ourselves and also look at what are some of the health promotion activities do we need to do. And so in particular, for example, with non-vaccination is to kind of look at, okay, which groups, and why is this occurring? What is their fear? Because we know fear drives a lot of these things, and how can we address it? So part of even our accreditation is that when you do have a health promotion strategy, make sure that it works for the particular target population. So that's some of the things that we'll be working on. Yeah.
I know one of the populations people talk about a lot is the homeschool population, and it's just looking for all sorts of ways to making sure that people are reaching those kids at some point, not just for vaccines, but for a whole range of issues.
Yes, and I also think the notion that vaccines give autism is something that I try to do as best as I can, even on the news, to state that that's not the case of autism, but there is really organizations at work and conveying that message, and so I think we need to be more strategic. So yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who do you got next?
We're going to move to the IT department. Rory, can you switch to my screen? You have the summary in your packet, and I know Kim has sent additional information that was also out in the board budget folder, but I'll let Kim talk about her budget.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I thought you were going to.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you go.
Well, a couple of the bigger line items that I have are, of course, maintenance, and that didn't change a whole lot. And part of the reason for that is with the replacement for the new 400, the maintenance on that went down quite a bit because the old machine was past maintenance, and I expected to have it gone before that happened. So that's a decrease because of that. So it kind of offset increases in other departments. Another thing that is not going to be included in my budget this year that has been in the past is the health department is going to start using eSuite. And so we were paying for them to use a different software to actually enter their time, and then it was imported into New World. I do have a couple of items in my operating budget.
that could go up based on our, the plan that I would like to see happen, but obviously we need to talk about that. One of the things that with the new building at Hartman Reserve, now they have internet access to through CFU, so they have fiber. They've got a security system, they have a firewall. It's a further distance away from the courthouse, so it's a good candidate or disaster recovery site rather than Pinecrest. And so one of the things that would increase with the utilities is to have a dedicated line from Hartman to the courthouse so we could do those backups. And so the other part of that is, so that's like $600, $650 a month. So that if there was a disaster, our data's being backed up there already. We would have to replace the firewall with something more robust, but we have a hot site for that, so one would be provided. The facility is so nice that we'd be able to set up workstations there and use that temporarily. Not that Pinecrest isn't a great site, but it's awful close. We don't have a firewall there. There's some things that make Hartman a much more attractive location. And one of them, like you say, the proximity. If there was a situation, both locations might be taken out at the same time. Another thing that I have in that utility line item is a redundant internet service provider. And so United Private Network does have lines into the courthouse already for the ICN. So it'd be pretty easy for them to add us as another option for a redundant internet service provider. And that's another $600 a month charge, but that pricing is based on a 5-year commitment. So, you know, it's one of those things that we're always trying to make sure that the system's up when people need it and that we have a secure location if there was an issue with the building.
I think you said, Kim, too, for a 3-year commitment, it was like $850
Right.
a month.
Mhm.
but-
If we went with a
so it was
3-year
quite a
commitment, it was an increased price, so. And I don't know if you want to go over what I have in my capital. I meet with each of the departments. I'll bring it up here, Kim. I meet with each of the departments to talk about their needs for some of the more personal things like desktops and laptops and printers. As you can see, I've got some in general for the courthouse, but like conservation and the attorney, if they specifically talked about a specific need, I included them there. We are looking at buying more storage for the tax administration application. So that would add a chassis and drives to the storage device we have right now. And we're gonna need that with the tax administration application. Some more, an increase in our server capacity to deal with virtual desktops. They're running a little slower than they have some problems, so we feel like if we upgrade that will improve their connectivity. And switches, with what we do with the PoE switches, we're doing really well, but there's a few more that are end of life, and one specifically that would increase the response time through the internet, that if we invested in that. So the ones that we bought for the courthouse with the PoE, increased bandwidth, so we should be able to get better throughput. And if we add this last one, it'll be the icing on the cake on that. The other big item is the copier for the auditor's office. And Veterans Affairs requested a replacement for their Vetrospect, so that's $4,200, but that might be something that the new director wants to think about. But it is something that Kevin did ask for earlier on.
What does that do, Kevin, what does that do for Kevin or for that office?
Yeah, it's Veterans Affairs. I'm not 100% sure, but it's what they use to
Okay.
keep track.
Kind of like customer contact information, that type of thing, like their clients, or?
Well, yeah, I think it keeps track of the forms that they need to fill out and that kind of thing, so.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I
That's
should
them. Oh, that's
ask
all
a
right.
little bit more about that. And then Windows upgrades and Office upgrades. January of 2020, Windows 7 will no longer be supported. Now, I guess I do have a question.
if we go ahead with the election office buying new laptops, we had gotten upgrades for Windows 10 that could be reused for county machines. So that might change that number a bit, depending on what you guys decided to do about that.
Do you know how much? When you're saying there's options
Well,
for
we've
us,
got
what would
the
that-
treasurer's office, there's several departments. The treasurer's office gets a new computer from the DOT every 5 years. So that department will be taken care of with the DOT. The recorder's office uses, COT System, provides their computers, and this year will be getting new machines as part of their contract with that system. So between the ones that we've already bought already, that have Windows 10 already, and ones that will either be replaced this year, what they had would surely cover everything that we need. But I did put some in there, not knowing for sure, so.
Okay.
And the last piece is the TCM for New World Systems. As you know, we have working on migrating our Ford assessee to DocuWare. And the assessor's office was completed successfully. They're very happy with that software. I expected to have the statement of work to upgrade the treasurer's application. And I still would like to see us look at that as an alternative, but I am budgeting for that in here in case it doesn't work as well as we think it might. So it's incorporated into the system, but it is kind of a pricey thing, and we'd have the migration as well. So something to keep in mind, and I know it's not a savings, I'm not saying that, but the tax administration application, as you know, what we had thought we were going to buy originally didn't work out, so we've got a less expensive application that we're in the process of implementing, that we may have funding available out of that technology fund that was set aside for tax administration. So, and I really do have a few slides that are in my IT folder.
I can pull those up.
Yeah.
Can I just make a comment on the Tyler content management? And I know Kim would like to see us take a look at DocuWare and see how it works. I know she feels that it's going to be a better product than the Fortis. I guess I'm a little concerned about, going forward. I sort of feel that this Tyler content management might be our best option. The product that is designed specifically to work with our financial software, New World. And as Tyler continues to develop and enhance the financial software, this product would work in tandem with that, and we could assume that they would develop and enhance that. The security features that we have with our accounting software would also work with this Tyler content management. And with trying to go, working on some of our lean processes that we have been trying to do with our accounting procedures, and having the departments enter and scan in the information, the paper, at the department level, so that it isn't needing to be sent to the treasurer's office for cash receipts or the auditor's office for invoices, eliminating the human error that is occurring now when we have to scan and then index manually. And I know there might be a way to eliminate some of that with DocuWare, but I just feel that this product is going to work better for the financial software, and so that's kind of my case. I'll put that in for that.
So it wouldn't be using both, it would be using one in lieu of the other.
Right, we would still have DocuWare because we use that for the assessor's office and the treasurer's office as a document storage system, and for their purposes, for what they need, what they're doing with that, that would still exist. This would just be for the financial software, but it would have HR, payroll, cash receipts, fixed assets, all of those things we would be able to have digital storage, hopefully create a system where we would no longer need to have paper, keep the paper copies of documents if we had our backup and we had everything scanned and digitized in there. It would provide a good audit trail, and it would be hopefully allow us to streamline our accounting processes so that we can be more efficient and look for ways to improve that whole process. Let me pull it up, Kim.
In my folder, up one.
Okay.
As you may have had a chance to look at, I sent you a few documents last week to talk about.
Which one would you like me to pull up, Kim?
PowerPoint. Oh.
The information technology update?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So first of all, we kind of like to talk about what we did get done this year. And so, we had the problem with our tax administration application, so we did release the we updated it, released it, evaluated it, and made a decision to go with Tyler Technology. We did get the assessor's document management software migrated, and that was a little bit more work than we expected. The assessor's office have documents that are like hundreds of pages in a single file, so it took them a little bit more work than they thought it would to get that across. Another major accomplishment was the migration of 400 to a 720. We had to do several gyrations because we were so far behind, but like I said before, I had expectations of that box not being there for quite a while now. We did the switches that were necessary for the IP phone system. We replaced the GIS servers for the map maintenance and the web access, and we're still, that's kind of been a delay because of our GIS changing some forms and working with the vendor on that. We just upgraded to 10.6.1. That also does the farms program. We updated data for the 2020 Luca. So we have quite a few GIS data projects going and data requests. I would imagine we have 3 or 4 a month for data outside for engineers or food cities, whatever. So other people are using our GIS database as a backdrop for projects they're working on. We update the website with property characteristics and information on a weekly basis. We've done a couple of upgrades for New World. The security issues, addressing items identified by the vulnerability scanning compliance. There's a yearly cycle for tax administration that keeps us pretty busy by the time of tax sale and bills and calculate that kind of thing. And then just in general, maintaining the hardware and software for desktops and servers. And then, like I said, AS400 requests. We still have 3 different entities that pay monthly service so that they can get to our real estate system online, and just in maintenance for that in general. And so I'm going to pound on this again, that the tools provided by the state security office really save the money, save the county a ton of money, like $80,000 at least to buy those appliances. And we just got new machines or new equipment for 2 of the FireEye and the Tripwire that does the vulnerability scanning. And we continue to work on addressing those identified vulnerabilities. Once a month I get a report with the top 10, and we're just whittling those down. And we've really, and so I dug up the old mission statement, which was developed before I was department head. And then I looked at what functions the county IT department really took care of, and then revisited that. And so, I can run down these really quickly. My major topics were provide a secure environment. And I think that's something that we didn't think about. I mean, they thought about it, but it's more and more important every day. Provide a stable environment so that if we have an outage for whatever reason, that we've got a fallback plan, you know, the alternate internet providers. Provide hardware and software support for physical and virtual environments. Work with users on day-to-day issues. Making plans to purchase new equipment. Maintaining a web internet presence. Programming services. GIS. The interface from departments and application software vendors. Expand the use of document imaging. And like I said, expanding the use of SharePoint since we've invested that. Developing some disaster recovery plan and looking to the future. You know, IT participates in associations that provide additional support to the future of Blackhawk County. ISIT and ISAC are state organizations that provide beneficial information, and they are part of the reason why we have those extra security appliances that we really rely on, and they do a really good job. They provided the training, so I mean, like I said before, you know, weakest link is sitting in the chair. We need to make sure that we give employees all the tools they need to be able to do their job. And so finally, I came back with a different mission statement. And the mission statement of the IT department is to provide the infrastructure, support, and innovation for the delivery of information technology products and services in a secure and stable environment, and collaborate with departments to provide services for the benefits of the citizens of Blackhawk County. And so that's what we try to do every day. And along with that, those proposed positions or functions, I relate that back to each of these mission statement facts or points.
Kim, could you provide us with what the employees we got now do, you know, what they're able to do? You know, you had that one slide up there where you said when you have problems, you know, who's it transferred to? Or is what section of everything does ACES do compared to the employees we have?
ACES is doing that network administration applications for the most part, but they do get help desk calls that I believe a lot of those should be going to my staff.
Then why aren't they?
Well, because of we need to revisit how they decided who got what calls.
Because that's the same information a year ago,
Yeah, 2 years
ago on them calls that we should be handling, and here we are today, same old thing.
So
I think that's where the assessment would be, is important,
Yeah.
I think, identifying.
well, and we went through that assessment with the HR department and provided that report 2 years ago. And, you know, we did put it on the agenda to hire somebody, and that got voted down.
Well, I think at the time too, we weren't able to, like I say, staff left too, so I said as far as some of that coming to fruition, and it doesn't mean we didn't vote it down.
So we get a lot of the calls, but I think there are more calls. I've been trying to work with them about that. And then,
Who's them?
departments.
Oh, okay, all right.
I will say, I mean, in defense of ACES somewhat too, though, I said, I know when I started as supervisor like 6 years ago plus, that was the one issue I heard all the time from staff, from department heads, from everybody, from even supervisors, that was there were some issues that we needed to resolve there. And it's probably better now than it has been with their help. That doesn't mean we need to retain them, but I just meant it's because of that assistance too. It's worked and it's working. Doesn't mean we don't need to improve it, and maybe it is with staffing and some of those types of things. I know you mentioned the other day, it would be a plan that we'd have to put in place to kind of stop using ACES and incorporate, new staff. Definitely, it wasn't just to start working with somebody.
That's what we were supposed to be looking at 2 years ago, and then it just fell by the wayside.
I think it'd be beneficial for the board to look into hiring a consultant to go in there and direct us, because like I said, we've been talking about some of this stuff for 2, 3, 4 years. So kind of tells us that maybe we really don't know for sure what we need or what. So
And I think you've addressed it too. You'd said before, maybe that you do need 2 network administrators, but you were willing to do 1 and see how that worked out. Well, maybe with an assessment, maybe 2 is what you need or we need. and to meet the needs of the county, and so
We
that
don't.
would help you, I hope.
Question is, we don't know what we need, so.
So that's why it would be
Well, I have a
helpful.
pretty good idea of what we
Well, I understand that, but I think what I'm saying is, let's get it outside to give us a picture of our IT. It can only do one thing, and that's to better help the IT office in the future. Not saying that things haven't, I think it's been a big improvement, because personally, I don't think we hear that many complaints anymore, but I still don't know about the staff leveling. I think we need to find out what we need, what ACES should be working on. Could they be doing something else? And and that contract's coming up again in May, I believe. So anyway, we can look around. I'm sure there's, if board members check around, I'm sure there's somebody independent that we can hire to come in.
Well, do you want me to contact the IC?
Why don't you send that information to the board so the board members can check into that? And that might be one possibility, plus I think we want to look elsewhere too.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them at all, so
Yeah.
that's a good possibility.
Just send that information to the board.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
So did you have any thoughts about the commitment, making the commitment to look at Hartman as a disaster recovery plan?
So what do you exactly would need from the board then?
Well, I just, when we had our conversation, there was not as positive response to that addition of cost, so.
Have you talked with them about it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say it was all right with them.
Is this the first the board has heard about it other than the IT committee?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I,
it was included in the information I sent you last.
yeah, so maybe that's something they might want to look over or think about, Kim, on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of information there that you provided, so
Yep.
thank you.
Okay.
Kim?
Thank you. Okay, Susan.
We're going to move to the maintenance department. Just on your summary, I do not have a capital number in here. Rory was still working on getting some numbers, and so I will pull it up on screen. So I apologize, we don't have that capital request form in paper for you, but we'll pull it up here. But basically, aside from the operating expenditures that Rory has budgeted, there is no change there. Revenue, the decrease is due to the elimination of the reimbursement from the enterprise fund for the one position, the one maintenance position. And then that's offset a little bit for an increase due to the change in office space at Pinecrest that is reimbursed by DHS. But I don't know if we want to move directly to capital, or I think maybe Rory wants to talk about salaries and benefits in the position, maybe? I'm not sure.
Well, actually, if it's okay with the board, I do have a couple of items. If you can pull up the
capital
capitals list. I've got 2 items on our capital and equipment that are associated with court administration that I've asked Linda Nelges to come and speak to as well. And then also we've got a very large topic of discussion with regards to solar, which I also have a representative from Eagle Point here to help with any questions that the board may have. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to maybe touch on those 2 items first, and then maybe go back to operating discussion.
The part of the solar, what, you have that on your list as a capital?
I have it on there. If you notice, it's just listed as solar because it's that big. It involves other departments other than just mine. So being as part of the committee, which has been talking about solar for the last almost 2 years, I'm basically bringing that to you as a representative from that alternative energy committee.
Well, we had a work session on it.
Yep.
And now it's up to whether the board, but we had a quite extensive session with Eagle Point, and I'm not really sure why we would go any further of that with this firm. I mean, I think we have to have a commitment first, and then we've got to start. You see what I'm saying? we had the presentation already with Eagle Point.
Yeah, and there was it was asked of the board had asked that we go back and review our larger facilities and come back with that information. And so what we did is we looked at all of our facilities in great detail, and I can go through that with you. And there are various options that the board, if board were interested, could take advantage of. And so basically from that meeting, based on the feedback that we received from the board at that time, now we're there. We have the information in front of us that we can present.
But is that another work session? I don't see where this is necessarily a budget
There's
because
potentially a cost involved.
but we have made no commitment whatsoever yet.
Well, it's no different than any other capital item that's on my list. There's really no commitment other than me.
It is if we budget for it.
And same with solar, because there is a cash option on there.
That's fine, but I think I don't know. We just want to be careful because there's other companies out there and we were notified, so.
This, and we've made ourselves very clear from the beginning that there is no locking in with Eagle Point Solar. With the committee, we've made it very clear with Eagle Point that they're providing this as budgetary data that we can provide to the board. So we're providing you that data that the board, if chooses, can budget for next year. But by no means does that mean that we're locking in with a company. It's just like any other project that we go out and we seek services to put a budgetary number together, and then we present it to the board.
Well, I think there's some interest with the board, but again, I don't think we're to a point of putting it in a budget right now. I think we should have another work session and got the additional information, and then the board would decide if they wanted to go out and get some feelers on what it would cost, and then again, decide if they even wanted to go forward with it at this time. And I don't think it should even be part of the budget right now.
That's basically what I'm providing to you, is if you are interested, I'm providing you some numbers to say, are you interested in budgeting for this?
Yeah, but you're getting your numbers from one company.
Well, I don't know. With that, if we didn't have, we'd have no idea what kind of numbers to.
Well, and that's the reason why we have another work session and we decide, first off, I don't know, does the board decide they even want to go forward with that?
Yeah.
My concerns were the buildings that they had that really, if we're gonna do it, we'd want to do it for this building here.
There's
what they've gone
a
back
lot of
and
information to cover on it that
I know there
Eagle
is.
Point has put together for us, and by no means, we could do another work session, but what this provides to this board today, if we go through this, is if we choose to go this route, this is what one company is saying for budgetary purposes, we can expect to pay as a county. And it was asked of us to put this together.
Yeah, but not to bring it back to budget, have another work session on it.
There's no reason not to do another work session, is there really? I mean,
That's what
we
I'm
can do it.
saying. I mean, that
think
was the
the alternative
intent.
energy, group
Yeah.
has got more information, obviously, than the whole board, so I
Yeah.
think maybe we need that information before we go forward.
Just set one up and if,
Well, yeah, and that's fine. I do have a representative here today to answer any questions the board may have, but I guess based on the feedback that we had last time, that's the information that we put together as a committee. And
I think initially we were looking at was it 7 buildings? When we had the work session before, was it?
yeah, it's 7 or 8 facilities,
smaller ones?
and then we were asked to look at the larger facilities
Sure.
to see if it made economical sense.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done.
I just don't get why we wouldn't talk about it. We've got representation here, like the groundwork's been done. The other company that reached out to us was Paulson Electric, and we gave them the opportunity, and they just haven't followed up yet to do the same kind of estimate for us. And so, I mean, we could say that we want to do solar, and we'd have no clue what it would cost if we hadn't gone through this process.
yeah, and I don't have a problem with that, Chris, but I don't think it should have been in the budget this time. This is a completely separate issue to see if the board even wants to go that way. It's just like a parking lot out here, a parking ramp. Put that in the budget. Why? We got to talk about it, see if we want to go that route. So the board requested more information. That's fine. We can hear from them today, but I'm sure we're not going to make a decision on your budget.
I guess I didn't assume that any decisions were being made. I just figured.
Well,
that
I understand that, but I'm saying eventually we're gonna have to. But I don't know if we're even gonna make a decision on that in this budget.
So you have, right now, you're prepared to speak to all of the buildings and what those costs are to convert.
Okay.
No, I don't mean we need to do it, I just meant that's what you're coming to us today, saying that you have all that information.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
I
all of
think
my
we've said
capital
that.
items on here, I'm coming to the board with, just like any year, this is what we're, as our department, this is what we're looking at for our capital request to the board. Just like solar, all we're doing is providing what that cost is going to be, and if the board chooses to want to go through or approve that, accept that, or not, just like any other capital project, that's, I guess, where I was coming from.
So how much of your budget's solar?
Oh, that's a whole discussion that I'm ready to go through if you would like me to.
Well, just ballpark it for me right now.
1.7 million.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, it's important enough or significant enough, I just think.
But there's
more information.
many different options to that. That's buyout. As you know from our last discussion, there's power purchase agreements.
Yes.
There's other potential options.
And see, that's probably not part of the discussion today, is it?
Yes.
That was what you're prepared to do today?
Yeah.
And are those buyouts, those three options? I think there were three.
There's cash.
Yeah, no, I just meant, I think there
Power
were at
purchase
least three.
agreement, and then there's infused.
Do all companies offer the same?
All companies, I only know of the one that's sought interest, which we've reached out twice, and we've yet to be able to make contact, which I can't recall. Chris, I don't know if you remember the name. Paul?
Yeah, Paulson.
I would hope that if the county decided to go further with this, that we'd have more than two companies.
Oh, I would imagine.
Especially if you're talking $2 million.
Well, just like any project, we would develop an RFP, and we would put what our needs are in that RFP and send it out widespread. We would put it on the internet, and Eagle Point's very aware of that. They just happen to provide the data to us, but we would definitely put it out for RFP. We went and visited Johnson County. We looked at what they did with solar. We also looked at their RFP process. So, like I said, 2 years we've been doing quite a bit of legwork on this. But if the board would wish to do this on a separate, outside of the budget work session, I'm perfectly okay with
We
it.
can have budget next Tuesday. Are we scheduled for Thursday?
We're scheduled for this Thursday, where I was hoping to sort of put everything together. We need to talk about salaries, and we've got county social services coming.
This Thursday.
This Thursday.
You're talking about next Thursday, right?
And then we can have budget meetings next Tuesday and Thursday if we need to. But I would like to try and get things wrapped up by the end of next week. The following week, I'll need to put it all together to get it submitted.
Basically, we got about 3 more days of budgets that we can do. We're just about through everybody.
I guess one of the things, we could do, I sent you a few emails yesterday. One of them is, obviously, if we're talking about 1.7 million in solar, we're not going to put that in our budget, for taxes, but we would be looking to use either, funds from Country View, some other source, reserves, if you wanted to look at that option. So that could be done at a later date. And then if you want to do something in the next fiscal year with that, if we decide to put that money in a capital projects fund or decide to do something like that, a budget amendment can be done to do that, to do a project like that.
I thought I saw an email yesterday that indicated you were talking about Country View money going towards that bridge.
Well, no, that was, that suggestion was that in this current fiscal year, we budgeted $2 million to supplement the operations of Country View, and we no longer will need that $2 million that we have already budgeted and taxed for in this current fiscal year. That was my thought with when we talked with the engineer's office the other day, and there seemed to be a reluctance to want to bond for that Cedar Wapsie Bridge. I did think that we could use that 2 million, transfer it to the capital projects fund. Towards that.
On that discussion that's next
Right.
Thursday.
We will need to have a future work session, discussions in the future, when we kind of have a better number of where we're going to end up with Country View, to discuss, what the board wants to do with those funds when we get ready to,
How long is it going to be before we know?
where we're going to end up with. It should be fairly soon. We actually do have I've got a conference call this afternoon on that United Healthcare issue, the PMI issue. Once we find out where that's going to end up, and then at the end of January here, as we kind of wrap things up with the operations, I'll have a better figure of where we're going to end up with that. So hopefully next month, we'll know, have a better idea anyway of what that number's going to be.
You got any cutoff date, you think, Susan, at this time?
For
knowing what, where we're at with Country View? How much longer is this gonna go on with stuff? Do we know?
There really shouldn't be that much remaining. We should kind of get things wrapped up this month. That United Healthcare issue is kind of the big question, how that will resolve. So yeah, we should be able to have some discussions soon to talk about that. One other thing I need to look into and do some research on is when we created the enterprise fund for Country View, we took money from both the mental health fund and the general fund to create that fund balance. I'm not sure if in dissolving the enterprise fund, we will need to put money back into the mental health fund. I need to do some research on that.
So you're talking for the remainder of fiscal 19. The middle. We got rid of it at the end of December.
Well, we still have the enterprise fund. We haven't yet,
Yeah, I understand.
because
that.
it's still.
I'm
right.
talking about the mental health fund that they contributed.
Right. When the enterprise fund was created, I think they took money, fund balance from both mental health and general fund to create that. And so I'm not quite sure when we go to dissolve the enterprise fund how I need to take a look at that, whether we need to.
Now, these are things that'd be nice to get cleared up because it looks like we got some big ticketed items here. But, I'm sorry, I kind of threw me for a loop when you brought this solar today.
I could have gone through it. If you give me 10 minutes, I can show you real quickly what we have here, and I can run through just a snapshot, so
I'd
you
like
have
to
an
see
idea.
it.
I want to see it.
But with that said, once we see it, not so sure. I'd want to leave it in the budget right now unless the board decides to do something with it.
I want to go through the presentation because before I make decisions about what reserves we use for what, I want to be able to have this be one of the factors that I'm considering in that.
But what I heard the last time on the 3 buildings, to me, that wasn't even.
And we asked them to go back, and they've got some exciting findings that they're eager to share with us.
Go ahead, Rory.
All right, sorry, board.
10 minutes.
You're fine. 10 minutes.
Yeah, you got 10 minutes.
Clock now. You know better than that.
Yep, no, I'll put on my timer.
Oh.
Well, we may need a work session, is what I kind of agree with.
I think we
I don't
at some point in
disagree.
time. So 10 minutes today is great, but we'll,
I think,
more,
yeah.
we can take more later.
I think you'll find here with the last work session that we had, the format is exactly the same. It's just got the addition of the larger facilities. And so now that I'm completely off track here, Pinecrest, we're going to start with the Pinecrest facility. As you remember, the last time we met, that Pinecrest, the county jail, and the county courthouse was not included. It was primarily looking at our smaller metered facilities. So it was asked that we go back and look at those larger facilities and see what that outcome was. And so looking at Pinecrest, what we found was compared to what we looked at before when we focused on just putting solar on the rooftop, Obviously, Pinecrest has a lot of land associated to it, and so we were able to use that land to the north of Pinecrest. And so they were able to size an array large enough to cover 100% of that facility. And so as we go down through, that's the size of array in kilowatts. The cost of that array is $944,879. This payback in years, 14.4 years, is based on this system having a 25-year warranty. So it's warranted for 25 years. The expected life of the system is 40 years. And so when we go down to the cash gained over the life, they're assuming that at 25 years, which is the warranty period of that array. So the cash gained over the life of the system to provide 100% is $1,093,000. No idea what's going on there. Okay. $1,093,106,000. Currently, our annual electric cost for that facility is $48,044. We would still be on the hook for $120 a year. That's a Mid-American fee. Post-project annual savings, $47,924, taking that $120 out. So what this shows us is Pinecrest actually ended up being a very favorable facility for solar. I'm just going to bounce over here and show you real quick what that would look like. To give you an idea, that is a lot of arrays to cover that facility. This was literally just handed to me within the last 24 hours, so I haven't had much of a chance to really absorb this either, but that is what it would take to provide 100% of the load for electric for the Pinecrest facility. So as you can see, utilizing the property that's there. Any questions on Pinecrest? And Chris, if you want to add anything, Chris and Craig both sit on the Alternative Energy Committee. Craig is just very recent to it. And then also our representative from Eagle Point.
Is that our current land?
Yes, it is.
Okay. A lot of them, ain't it?
Yes, very much so.
That's an array.
Oops, where'd it go? Okay. And so, looking at the Blackhawk County Jail, you'll see that the size of array is much smaller, and that's due to just not having the physical space to put enough arrays to handle the load that the jail would need. In fact, with this setup here, we're looking at approximately offsetting the electrical by about 7%. Payback in years, 21.2 years. Cash gained over that 25-year period, $55,155. Total project savings, 4%. Now, initially, when I looked at that, and along with the courthouse, I thought, wow, that is not very appealing. Those are very small percentage points. But when you start considering the amount of electricity that those buildings consume, and you start looking at 7% for the jail, 13%, by the way, for the courthouse, you start looking at, you question yourself, okay, is it environmentally impact? There's that positive of going with solar, and you have a 4% savings over the life, so it's not as appealing. But
are the calculations worry for the 24/7? Because we were told at one time that there's no way that they could power that with solar enough for 24/7.
They're only offsetting the power by 7% with solar.
Yeah.
So they're not even close, but, and it is, they went off actual utility usages. Was it going back 12 months on that?
12 months.
12 months. But for the benefit of the group, let me just show you what the jail image would look like. And again, that is offsetting the electrical by only 7%. So not as a favorable project as you would see over.
What do you do when you got to do a roof?
What do you?
When you have to put a new roof on, like we have already?
That's a good question. These units aren't, I don't know what the proper word is.
They're not fixed- they're not attached
anchored
directly to the
down. They're
roof.
not attached. They're actually laying on there. They're weighted on there, and they can be easily removed. So we're being told.
And the thing to keep in mind, even when looking at the jail and the courthouse, if you look at the kilowatt hours generated in one of those facilities, it's as much as all the next facilities combined. It's just that it's such a large area, we're not offsetting as much, but we're still, when you're looking at how much electricity we're offsetting.
It's 24/7 facility where this is
Right.
only open during the.
Right. That's good point.
Pinecrest, same thing.
But that same kind of thing is true for both the jail and the courthouse. That it's a little misleading to just look at just the 4% or the 8% or the offset when you just compare the kilowatt hours generated to all the other smaller facilities combined together.
Are you going off current costs of what utilities cost now?
Yeah, basically, and that's one of the things you got to consider as well. When you look at our rates here for Mid-American, particularly for the jail and the courthouse, our larger facilities, we pay a pretty low rate. And you'll see that when I talk about the power purchase agreement, that you'll notice that our rates would be higher with solar than they would be with the Mid-American. And we'll get to that here real quickly, I promise. I'm going to go over the 10 minutes. I'm sorry.
No, you are.
We got 3 left. I know.
Okay, let me just show you real quickly the courthouse. So does the group have the gist and how this is laid out? Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't need to go through each one, but I want to show you the pictures of the facilities here. Courthouse.
Well, they're helpful to see, Rory. I mean, obviously, I didn't expect the Pinecrest.
So as you can see, I believe we're actually utilizing just about every bit of space on that roof that you can imagine. So, and again, that's a 13% offset. So to Chris's point that you just made, which was a very good point, that may not look very appealing, but considering the amount of energy that these buildings are using, that is quite significant. So, all right, moving on. Now we get into some of our smaller meters, where if you'll notice this bottom column here, the 98%, 96%, these are locations where it really starts making sense with regards to that's project savings. So again, I am going to show you the pictures. So we've got the Longfellow shop meter at 98%. We have the Longfellow shop cold storage at 96. We have the Longfellow shop at 93. The county conservation at 95. Mechanic shop 94. Elk Run shop 89. And the sheriff training, which is a new addition since our last meeting, that was also asked to take a look at that. Maybe not by the board, but it was asked by Tony to take a look at the training center. That was 77%. Unfortunately for today, I don't have the information on Hartman Reserve, mainly because the data, historical data wasn't there. So they're still looking at that facility for you guys. So with that being said, let's go take a look real quickly here at the images.
I think the one thing to really keep in mind there, and Rory said it, but just to reiterate that the payback period on most of those is about 15 years, and then they're showing the cash gain over life. That's just the 10 more years to get to the 25-year warranty. They're expected to have a lifetime of 40 years.
Yeah.
So you got, another 15 years after that that's not factored into the cash gain over life that will still be generating electricity. I think that it's something that the panels degrade. I forget, it was about 1%, half a percent each year. So they'd still be generating a decent amount of power going into that we'd be, and that's all just pure cash generation at that point.
So here's this. This box here is probably the most important. So the current annual electrical cost for all of these facilities combined, $246,501. Post-project annual electrical cost, $174,112. Total annual savings of $72,389. Cash gained over the life of that, and that's considering 25 years, not the 40, but the 25, $1,497,448.
That's on all of them?
That's on all of our facilities. Now, I had asked Eagle Point to put me together the same chart, taking out the gel in the courthouse. I'm going to show you that real quickly here. So keep in mind that 29% annual percentage, annual savings percentage. And if you look here, this is removing the courthouse and the jail. Now we have a annual percentage, annual savings percentage of 99%. So our current electrical cost is $59,270. But again, to Chris's point, see how that number has drastically gone down. So the 7% offset from the jail and the 13% offset from the courthouse really made a significant difference in that cost. But this sure looks more appealing when you take those two off. Your total annual savings is literally $58,550. Cash gained over the life is $1,322,000.
So this is back to those original 7.
Yeah.
Plus Pinecrest.
Plus Pinecrest.
And the sheriff's shooting range.
Ah.
Which you can see on the shooting range, we're looking at pretty small unit. And I will go back, like I told you, real quick and show you just the pictures. So
Pinecrest is the biggest investment, but it's also the biggest money saver over the life of it.
this one here, this is the Longfellow shop. I think you call it your main shop. That's what the solar array would look like there. Elk Run, small array.
Does anybody locally have this?
Solar? Oh, yeah, quite a few places.
On this scale of what you're talking about?
We visited Johnson County, their secondary roads department at Johnson County, and this was probably about 2 years ago, maybe already. Vern was still here at that time. And they have a very large array in the front of their shop, very similar to the one that's on the roof of our secondary road.
Is that the only building they've got it on?
I believe at that time that was the only building. I am not sure if they have another one.
How many years were they into it?
It was fairly new. Within 2 years, it had been installed.
So they really don't have much of a track record.
And if you go to their website, you can actually pull up their solar panels, and you can see a live generation of what their solar panels are producing. So again, real quick, Longfellow cold storage, and I will send all of this to the board as well. Again, these are all.
The numbers particularly, like.
You've seen that one.
Yep. So.
Sheriff training image.
Conservation headquarters, that's the one I was trying to find too. So that's over on Airline Highway. Looks like you might need some concrete work. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
was just ready to say, you ought to be investing in concrete.
Parking lot's not in the budget though.
That is their shop behind the headquarters there. Sorry to call that out on you, Mike. Can you just step up, just a quick summary, if there's any questions. Again, we've been working with Eagle Point for quite a while now. They've done a lot of work for us. They understand that we're not locked in with them by no means.
Sure.
But they have done a lot of work. So if there's any last pitch effort that you want, like 2 minutes, maybe?
Sure.
About 30 seconds.
Sure.
I'm Jim from Eagle Point Solar. I think what I would tell you is our job, as Rory has said, is really not to make decisions at this point. It's really to provide you information. I think if you go out and talk to other companies, that's perfectly okay. That's doing due diligence. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The one thing I will throw out to you is somebody asked the question about who's doing this, okay? We have done projects. Johnson County has added 2 projects after the secondary roads that we have worked on with them. We've done multiple sites for the city of Oelwein, for the city of Dyersville, for the city of Piasta, for the city of Dubuque. We've built projects for Hamilton County. So we have built projects for approximately 25 to 30 municipalities and or counties between Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin. So the point here is that this is something that other municipalities and counties are looking at and executing on a very regular basis. So
What's the 2 additional for Johnson?
we did they just had a new ambulance center that opened up that we just finished up, and then we did the healthcare center. It's right across the street, and then their administration building as well. One of those is on the roof, one of them is on the ground, in addition to secondary roads. And generally speaking, when we're talking with a municipality or a county, we're looking at multiple facilities. We're working through the same process here to figure out what makes sense for you. And again, what makes sense for you is not our decision. Our job here is just to provide information.
What's the longest you think any of them are? I mean, where we could, 5 years, 6 years they've been there, are they all fairly new?
If you look at the city of Dubuque, for example, that was the original array on the operations building was built back in 2011 or 12. We just did the fire stations in Dubuque about 2 years ago. The city of Asbury is probably 3 years old. We just finished building their wastewater treatment plant project. So we've got some that would range anywhere from probably 5 years to, we're turning some on as we speak. So you could certainly, if Rory or anybody wants to talk to anybody that we've worked with, not about us, but mainly how does this work and is it worth it, we can certainly give you some people to talk to.
I think that'd be good.
I want to
Thank
know,
you.
as technology advances, do these arrays grow smaller?
Yes, a little bit. What's happening is we get a little more power per square foot out of the modules or the panels, but it's not a quantum leap anymore. So if you look at the modules we were using 5 or 6 years ago, we're getting probably about 20 to 25% more power per square foot today. So, but it's slowing down because they're running out of ways to get more power out of the same square footage. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One interesting piece of information, I'd asked the question of how much physical space would it take to power the courthouse, for an example. And I believe your response was approximately 2 acres, give or take. So just to kind of give you a feel, that is a lot of space to cover the amount of power that would be needed to generate at either the jail or the courthouse.
Those ones on the ground, say at Pinecrest, there's quite a few there.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be responsible for the damage on them? If we had vandals.
That would be the 25-year warranty would, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but the 25-year warranty is there for the production of energy. And then you would also entertain into a maintenance agreement. If we bought these outright, we would have to pay for that agreement annually. If you went into a power purchase agreement, which we haven't even talked about yet, that would be included into that cost that you'd pay per kilowatt. Does that make sense? So if you're buying them outright, we would enter into an agreement, and I'm being told we're looking at about $2,000 a year for an agreement that would cover any repairs needed.
Damage, any damage done to it?
And you answered this maybe, but I was going to say when we talked about the 15 to 20 other companies that are in the state of Iowa that could be interested in bidding on this too, do they have the same options, the same financing options?
That's a good question.
Exclusive?
You might have a better answer to that.
I think the depending on the route that you go down, if you talk about a PPA, I think it limits the number of companies that have the ability to put together the financing for the projects. We're not the only one by any stretch. I don't want to mislead you. But when you look at, there's really two things here. If you consider a PPA, I think you narrow the field. The other thing is if you look at this project as a whole, this is a pretty sizable project. And all we would recommend is that you do your due diligence to make sure the company you would deal with is large enough and has the resources actually to pull it off. We have done probably 4 projects in the last 2 years that are power purchase agreements where we got brought in because there were things going wrong, and it was really because they were, the companies that were selected were too small for the job. So all we can recommend is that you do due diligence. On the PPA side, you're going to get a limited field. If you talk about doing this, as a whole, you'll also have a limited field because although there's a lot of people getting into our industry, there aren't a lot of people that have the resources and the ability to put together a sizable project.
And you're meaning the 10 facilities, kind of looking at them as one project rather than.
Yep.
Thank
Great
you.
question. So I guess with that being said, we do have a lot of other projects to be discussed. I appreciate Jim coming in. Are there any other questions for me? Otherwise, I will send this all out to the board. And by all means, if you have any questions, let me know.
I still think we're going to set up a work session on it.
Yeah.
That's always the danger, I think, with any committee that we have. I said that, the committee becomes well-versed and well-knowledgeable, but the whole board is the one that we all have to vote. So, to get 5 votes, and we all need to be knowledgeable.
Well, and I want to make it very clear, too, that me standing up here today with this particular line item, I am representing the committee. I mean, it's a group of people, and you're exactly right. It's not me going rogue wanting solar.
But it's all of us needing more information.
It is a group, so.
Yeah.
It's a fairly large commitment, and that's something that's going to take some thinking and so forth. And I know Chris is really heavily into this, and but I guess I like to walk a little slower than what he does. Both ways.
Well, just thank you again for allowing me to probably closer to 20 minutes just to bring it up. So now we'll move on. All right.
I don't think we had the capital list. I don't think we received that either, had we?
You should have that.
Yeah, do you want to switch?
I got to switch, yeah. Sorry, multitasking here. All right.
Okay. No, you don't have this in your packet,
No.
so we'll have to look up on the screen here, so.
That's okay.
You want to go through capital? I know historically we've always kind of touched on operating first. I don't know.
How much
Right,
is your
there
operating change?
there weren't any changes in the operating expenditures. I mean, there were changes within line items, but overall, it's the same, and so unless Rory, if you want to comment.
Well, and you're right. What I did with the operating is I did move money around based on, we went through each line item like we do each year, and we look at the 5-year average. We also consider what projects we've done recently. Are they energy savings projects that could possibly result in a reduction in the utility line item? So that's what we did again this year. We've made very minor adjustments to try to get us better in line with what the 5-year historical has showed us. So that's the expense part of it. Now, when you look at our revenue part of it, obviously we've got the position that was over at Country View. That was in our revenue because we charged back Country View for this position's services. So I wanted to just give you just a real quick background for those of you who aren't familiar with how this all transpired. But back in 2010, roughly mid-2010, we had a mechanics position here downtown. We made the decision to move that mechanics position over to Country View as their primary work area. Just like we do with any of our positions here in my department, we have 2 over at the jail, 1 here at the courthouse, 1 over at Pinecrest. What motivated us to do that at that time was to realistically to reduce the travel time, because we were getting called out quite frequently. Plus, we wanted to get one person very familiar with that facility. Given the nature of that facility, it's the codes. Our life safety codes are completely different. So we really wanted to get one individual very familiar with how that worked at that facility. And I think we were very successful with that. But I know there might have been some confusion earlier on as far as whether or not this position was actually a Country View employee or a downtown maintenance employee. And absolutely, this position was a downtown maintenance employee. He was just relocated over to that facility.
Did he ever perform any work other than
Absolutely. And that is really kind of the gist of my justification, because with in keeping this position, because our department, we generate revenue much differently than some departments, but we try to generate revenue by cost savings, by doing projects that are energy efficient. And you look back, I don't have a slide, but you look back, in the 10 years that I can speak to, believe it or not, I've almost been here 10 years. But we've done a lot of projects that have been very, very energy efficient, whether those projects were outsourced or whether they're done in-house. I want to make it very clear that even an outsourced project involves a great deal of time from our staff. You look at the lighting project here at the courthouse. We were able to save the county a substantial amount of money by doing all the HVAC work for that particular project. By doing that, we really sacrificed ourselves by maybe not getting other projects completed that needed to be done. But what we do is we look at these, each project, whether it's outsourced or whether it's in-house, and if we're able to go in and do some of that work to save the county money, we do that. What I will tell you is the last couple of years, well, it's always been a challenge, but we've become very good at being very lean. We are a very lean department when it comes to just physical numbers of staff. And we have gotten ourselves in situations where we have actually called the Country View position over many times. Snow is a perfect example where we need help. A line over at the jail, whether it's a wastewater line or water line or what have you, if we have an employee that's out, whether it's scheduled time off or it's sick time or if it's an emergency, I'll tell you, just going back 1 year, this is a pretty staggering number, but our department, we had over 300 days where we were at least one person down in our department. Now, we did have a person that was out on medical for a big chunk of that, but that just kind of gives you an idea. When you have a staff of 5 people and you're down 1, you really feel the impact from that. So those are times when we've had to call out to this person over at Country View, this mechanic, to come out and assist. We've also reached out to the maintenance assistants also over at Country View, which I found out the hard way that I wasn't supposed to do that because of union rules, but I did, and so I don't do that anymore. I quit doing that some time ago. So yeah, to answer your question, we do. We always have that person kind of as a backup when we do run into a situation, and we've had many situations pop up. But
your Pinecrest guys, you ever come downtown?
All the time. Each one of my facilities, each one of my staff bring a unique trade skill set to the table. I've got an electrician, I've got a carpenter, I've got a heating and cooling, I've got a plumber, I've got a general laborer that's good at everything. Each one of my employees have a very good skill set.
So the one we hired last year, is he wrenching?
That is our maintenance assistant. Is that what you're talking about? There's times when he'll get involved to a certain level, but we have to be very careful with that per the job classification. And that's a perfect example. We had that position as a full-time position. We lost it. I think we went a year or two, and we brought it back as a part-time. We realized that there's some good savings, a very good need for that. We made it full-time, and I think that's a perfect example. That position has worked out great. We haven't had to outsource any painting. They've done the lawn mowing that we were able to eliminate from being outsourced. So I think that position sold itself very well.
That was just last year, I believe, wasn't it? We did
Yeah.
that just last year.
So again, I guess, this, I wanted to make it very clear that this position over at Country View was overseen by my department, ourselves. It was our employee. We lent that employee to that facility. Once that facility went into an enterprise fund, which Susan, I believe that was 2011, that's where at that time the finance director and myself sat down and we decided let's charge Country View back for those services. And so since that time, we've been recouping the wages. So, any questions on that position?
No, like I said, I think you can show justification for 20 more people if you want to, really. And I'm not being smart about it. I'm just saying. I kind of go on the theory too, since we increased. You lost the one about, I don't know how many years ago, and you had two. We brought one back part-time, then full-time. But over that period too, we've replaced a lot of major equipment, new, that you wouldn't think needs as much maintenance as it did prior to that, because you were dealing with 40-year-old boilers, HVACs, you name it. And since then, I think we've replaced just about everything in every building.
And
I know there's still work to be done daily.
You're absolutely right. And what I would say to that is, when I look at my facilities, unfortunately, when you look at the Blackhawk County Jail, that is probably our biggest, look at my facilities as children, that's my biggest problem child, because it is the newest facility also. But yet it is 24/7, so it takes a lot of abuse. And again, I think there's been I think it's been proven in the past. Well, let me just say this. Our staff, when we do projects, whether it's outsourced or in-house, we all work together as a team. And I think it's been shown in the past that the energy savings that we've seen from the many projects that we've done, and that's several, I think would show that being proactive rather than reactive is ultimately our goal, and I think we're getting there a little closer every day. You noticed for the last few years we haven't come to the board with a large budget amendment. When I first started, that was a very common practice. And again, Tom, that's to your point with the equipment, some of that to your point. But yes, we have tackled a lot of large equipment. You'll see I've got another one on there that's a very large one.
I'm curious about that.
But with that said, what goes along with the actual large equipment, there's a lot of equipment that's accessories to that. I'll give you an example: pneumatics through our facility, electrical. We've got an electrical system here at the courthouse that's original. It's getting harder and harder to find parts for that. So it will continue, and our challenge to be proactive will continue, but that will definitely be much more attainable if we have staff here to do it. So if there's nothing more on the position, I can speak to the capital.
Not at this point, anyway, on the staffing.
Do what, Linda?
I said I don't have any questions right now, but I'm not sure I won't have still.
Okay.
I think as far as some of the texts and things, so.
Pardon me, I didn't.
No, I'm good to move on
Okay,
now,
okay.
thank you.
All right, so what the boiler and water heater project for the jail, in our 5-year plan, we did have both the water heater replacement earmarked. We also had the boiler system earmarked, but the boiler wasn't actually out until 21, I believe. But looking at both of those pieces of equipment, actually it's 3 boilers and 2 water heaters that are over there currently. Our water heaters, 2 of the 3 are original to the building, so that puts them at about 25 years old. One was actually rebuilt in 2015, or no, 2003, sorry. The water heaters are, as you know, I think it wasn't probably a year ago, I think I came to the board, if not even that, with a refractory repair project that our guys did on one of the water heaters. That's a common practice on these 2 water heaters.
What about the boiler?
Well, so what I looked at was my first initial goal was to look at replacing the water heaters. And looking at that whole system in a whole, what I'm looking at now is a hot boiler system, which would be 3 boilers and 2 heat exchangers tied together. So essentially 1 system to accomplish 2 things.
That's different from what you currently got over there.
It is. Right now we have 2 independent systems, meaning we have 2 gas sources, 2 means of failure. What this is a much greater efficiency, and I can go through those efficiency numbers with you, but essentially, let me pull this up and I'll give you an idea of what this would look like.
You're on my screen, Roy, so if you want to.
Yeah, multitasking. So this is my cost breakdown, but let me just show you real quickly. This is essentially what the layout would look like. So currently, this is very familiar with what we have over at the jail. This is not. What we have over at the jail are large storage tanks along with 2 hot water heaters that essentially are, in my opinion, more designed for swimming pool application. And they're very inefficient. And I'll show you that number here in a bit. This is what we're proposing on doing. It's a very efficient system. It utilizes your boiler system all year round. We already run our boiler systems in the summertime for that facility just to regulate the temperature in the building. You know, when you want 72 degrees, you actually got to introduce some heat to get to that. Although over there we will take heat from dampeners from the building, bring it in. We'll compensate with that, but sometimes you do have to run the boilers anyway just to bring the humidity down.
So this whole thing here is what you're looking at?
This whole package is what we're looking at.
Did you take bids on that already, or you got an idea? Where'd you get your cost from?
I worked with a engineer on this, and this wouldn't be bid out just like any of our projects. It wouldn't be actually bid out until those monies were available. But I wanted to give you a layout of how we came up with that number. So this is a little more difficult when dealing with 2 systems, boiler and hot water, because you have to phase it in. You just can't eliminate the hot water from the inmates over there at the jail. So we'd have to do it in phases. So we listed that out. That's the total demolition cost. I'm going to go through this really quickly because we got a lot of things to cover and you're going to probably get tired of listening to me. This is the equipment. This is the actual boilers. This is the number I wanted to point out per each boiler system. Plate and frame heat exchanger. There would be 2 of those. So we have redundancy in the system, which you absolutely have to have for a facility like that. A facility like the courthouse, you might be able to get by without redundancy, but over there you cannot because if the inmates even start to get cold over there, they'll start filing complaints, which we deal with on a pretty regular basis.
Is there any kind of a payback on?
So what I have for energy savings, and we're going to use BTU. So right now with this system, we'd be looking at a reduction of a little over 2 million BTU. Cost that would result in 23,000 therms. That'd be roughly $14,000 a year is what we can anticipate for a energy savings. Now that's just the savings in energy. Once a design was put together, we can then submit that to our energy partners, which is Clear Results. We wouldn't have that number until a design was actually put together and submitted to Energy, which we're well familiar with. We do that with all of our projects. I would anticipate, based on that type of savings, that there would be some sort of a rebate going this route. So that is the boiler project. I know I went through that quickly, and any questions?
Let's see what else you got.
Okay, moving on. All right.
You want to go back to my screen? And I don't want to interrupt you. I know court administration is down at the bottom, but since Linda's here, do you want to talk about those items?
I'm sorry, Linda, I forgot all about you.
Solar threw you off, I think.
I'm still back on solar. I actually had a really good presentation put together for the boilers, but I'm just off.
We can still do it. That's all right.
All right,
I believe you.
come on up, Linda.
All right.
Okay, let me grab your file here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit. I shared this letter from one of the district associate judges with Roy. I assume you all got copies. Dan, you probably weren't in the mix at that time.
Thank you.
I'm just going to pass this out. I hope you got copies. If you did, I'll let you read through it. I won't read it all to you. It's regarding courtroom 106. All the they did kind of a survey amongst attorneys, judges, court participants, the public, court attendants, staff, and these are the deficiencies that we have been noting over several years. We need to revamp that courtroom to make it effective.
Have we done any work in there?
I don't believe so.
No, we've done a little bit of repair. We had a judge's box at one point. We had to repair that, but very minor. I know I have a picture in here.
Where'd you come up with this cost?
What we did is, hold on one second here.
You're gonna show some more pictures, are you?
Yeah, I'm a picture guy.
Take his back.
You know, I could have got a smaller screen up here. I apologize to anybody who has to look at this thing. You see?
Is it in the?
I can't see squat without my glasses.
Is it in the FY20 capitals folder?
You would think, but
Rory? But there's another folder down at the bottom. Is it in that folder?
yeah, that's not the one I'm looking for.
There's courtroom 106.
Right there. One more
That's
up.
In the middle?
I'm looking for a picture of that.
Oh.
Picture.
He does have pictures.
Some of us need pictures.
I like pictures. I'm a picture kind of guy.
Let's see a picture of you finishing up. How about
All right. Picture this. Okay, so basically, so what this is looking at is the judge's bench. That was kind of the primary focus of this remodel, and the bench has got a very distinct slant to it, and I think you had indicated in your in the letter here that was kind of the primary focus, was that bench, and so that is the biggest cost to this project.
Go back to the capitals there, Susan.
Where's it at? Yeah.
Sorry. So
you got, where'd we come up with the 17,300?
the $17,000 is for this bench, and then also new ropes. If I had this picture, I can show you exactly.
I understand that, it's all broken down here. I'm just saying, how'd you arrive at that dollar amount?
We sought a interior decorator, which sought a gentleman to put a custom bench model together for us. And what it would do is it would match the jury box. So when you walked in, you would have a complete match to that jury box.
So the 17,600, is it to cover all this stuff that just handed us? So it's more than just the judge's box?
It's a judge's box with a monitor that can slide along the top.
I understand that, but it also covers something
Does it
for
cover
the
the
jury
jury
box
box
for
and stuff?
wheelchair access.
No.
It doesn't cover any of that.
No.
That's
Yeah. So I've got another quote for that, which is basically a laminate judge's bench. that wouldn't have the appeal, it wouldn't match what the jury's box is. It would just be a flat laminate, flat top judge's bench. That came in at $3,320. I didn't put that on the list because
That's an additional, that's 17?
no, you would take that 17, throw it away, and we'd go with the laminate style. So it's really an aesthetics. So,
I see, Linda, there's another one there that you're gonna be talking about here in a second. Can we expect any contribution from the state on this?
We try to stay pretty stringent based on the code, that if it's county facility, if it's something attached, it's your responsibility, if it's our furniture and such, we pay for that. Now, that's not to say, I would be more than happy to go back and ask that question. You're talking about the glass windows, Tom?
Well, really, everything up there. We've done a lot of work upstairs, and I know there's a code, but there's also a limit that we can do.
Sure. The furniture, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a big fat no, just because of that code section. If we start that, then not every other 98 counties is gonna, you know what I'm saying, be in the same boat. Now, in terms of the glass for the windows, I'm not here asking for special treatment, just so you understand. Rory and I had a conversation, and we were gonna be the first to do it, hoping that this expands to the whole courthouse, because we've got employees on every floor, and I get there are priorities, but when you have Homeland Security telling you to do it, we had active shooter training, it takes one incident. I don't think the cost for the windows is that terrible.
Well, that could be true also for all the county offices
That's
here.
what I'm saying. I'm not asking for
But
special treatment for safety.
It makes you wonder why all these years we didn't have, and then all of a sudden we gotta go to
All
this
these years we
drastic.
didn't have a shooting down
And
there.
I know it could happen anytime, that's why we've done the training, but
Yeah. I mean, it
sometimes.
just kind of goes hand in hand with that, it's just one more step and hopefully.
So that 32,000 is for the whole courthouse, or
No,
just up
just,
there in that?
no, that's just for the 4 windows, I believe.
Yeah.
You got the quote from Alan Glass, so.
It is very expensive, I get that, I'm here making the ask, I've had a lot of people, there are some counties that have it, but, and that I would be willing to go back to the state and say, can we contribute half, or, whatever the case may be, and then you guys perhaps could benefit and see how that, how, I don't wanna say how well it works, because you're gonna have an incident before you know how well it works, but it's only gonna take one incident to be great.
We've been lobbying for years with the legislators on
Paying
for some of this, because
Yeah.
bottom line, where we get our money from is raising taxes on people.
Yeah.
So we have to answer them too, just like they do up there at the state level. So, I mean, it's not like we got a bank full of cash that we can spend on these
I
projects.
totally understand that, we have budgets too, it's just the way
And
the code is written.
We tried to
These are
tackle
about
the
how
energy
it's-
efficient part of it with the lighting and different things like that, and I don't know.
I feel the courtroom, the glass thing is on a whole different level. Yeah, I understand budgets. The courtroom thing though, that has been a long time coming. I mean, it's hard for those judges to work in there. I don't think that's fair to put somebody, in an office or in a facility or a courtroom where it's not even conducive for them to do their job appropriately. There's safety concerns.
We're not
I actually thought we were.
we're not
doing
addressing the
jury
whole
box.
issue though, we're just addressing his place where he sits. We're not addressing the, jury box or anything.
Yeah, I thought the code included the jury box.
No,
I
this
did not
was,
see the code till today, so.
Well, this was actually given to you. I just took the quote that was actually sent to you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
my error
so.
then, yeah, I thought it was just.
So it's not for everything on this list.
It's for the judge's bench, which would include a monitor stand, and that is literally it. So I had that picture up at the judge's bench. What I wanted to point out to you on that, with that picture was, we have the 2 options, the 17,000 to go with a judge's bench that looks
Comfortable.
similar to the jury's box, or $3,200 to go with just a flat top laminate judge's bench to address that issue with that bench. So I wanted to point out that those are the two options that I have right now. We can definitely take a harder look into that, but as you can see, there's a huge difference. The difference is because one's custom, one is a carpenter actually making this judge's bench, and one is fabricated.
Is there no way the current judge's bench is just going to be modified? Like, I'm more concerned about the jury box than the judge's bench.
Yeah, one thing that, in looking at this proposal, one thought that I had is we could reduce the size of that judge's bench and possibly cut that number back somewhat, but you still, when you have a custom piece of furniture like that, you might reduce the labor somewhat, but it's not going to be a large amount. As you remember when we...
But I mean, just modifying the current judge's bench, if it's already going to be a specialty carpenter project, you've already got something that's aesthetically looks nice from the front. And it's,
I talked to the vendor about that, and she looked at it pretty seriously, but with that slant, they have to build it up, and she just didn't think that would work.
okay. I think there's carpenters in this community that could do it, but I don't. I mean, people repurpose old furniture all the time, and that, because I'd hate to see us have to go with a laminate thing, because it,
Tacky.
yeah.
I honestly have not had a whole lot of involvement with this one, and I could certainly dive into it a little further.
I thought we were looking at doing the whole courtroom over.
Well,
keeping it.
Yeah, we talked about doing the roping and getting those sandblasted, which I didn't include that because that's such a minimal cost that I figured we could incorporate that into my operating.
You're gonna do it right.
We just repainted, so literally what you have left is a judge's bench and the jury's box. So.
And carpet?
Carpet's not in too bad a shape in there.
Will it meet that? Look nice with the laminate?
It'd be similar to what you see right here.
Let's go back to your capital, Rory.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me.
So.
So that's just the two then, Linda, that you
That is,
want us to
okay.
think about.
Okay.
And I tried to get a judge here this morning, but they're all on the bench, so.
So is 106 used every day?
Oh, yeah, that is our main courtroom on First Floor.
Is it?
Yep. High volume.
So what would they do while we were fixing it?
You have to move them upstairs or give them something.
Because it does need to be fixed or updated somewhere along.
Rory, why don't you take a look at that and see if you can give the board some options,
Yeah, I can do that.
including from what I'm hearing from Chris, something about to do with the jury box too.
Yeah, if it's an ADA issue, that's
So,
concerning for me.
why don't you kind of look and see if we can have some options to cut that cost, or keep it the same but expand the work.
Yeah, and like I said, I just got done talking about the skill sets that we have in-house. We can certainly take a look at that as well, so.
Yeah, there you go.
You can
He's
see
still
what we've done
pushing, he's
here.
still pushing that person.
Yeah. Except, yeah, we don't.
That was pretty smooth, wasn't it?
I thought you did a good job there.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm sorry you had to wait all day.
It's all right, thank you.
Okay, jail, stove, that is pretty self-explanatory. I mean,
Are some of these jail here like the stove that comes out of commissary?
more than likely, they'll be out of the room and
And
board.
then what's a two-way talk?
That is a device that allows somebody that could be in a Sally port situation at the jail, so whether it's a control room or what have you, it's literally a electric two-way
They do it now?
speaker. And we have them in place now. We have 3 of them that are not working.
So that's a repair for 3?
Yep.
That
There
still
is.
probably could come out of something, not commissary, but room and board.
It would probably come out of room and board. All of the jail items that, what we've done the last couple of years, for the most part, have come out, with probably
Well-
the exception of the boilers.
Well, last year we have, or in this current fiscal year, we do have several coming out of commissary. And I do think that, and we can talk to the sheriff, but anything that is, as he mentioned, will directly benefit the inmates, so possibly the stove oven
Sure.
could come out of the commissary.
Part of that $500,000.
Right, and so I think that might be where the preference to take that from. Although I know, I don't know if we're going to have further discussion with the sheriff on, you know, the jail diversion idea, and I think he was looking at some commissary funds for that, but.
I think if you got two of them down, that's probably a safety concern. You probably should have those up on that talk through.
Well,
That's to replace two
I
of
had
them?
the jail captain go through and do an assessment of that, and he got back to me. He said, you know, you have some employees that use them on a regular basis. You have some employees that don't use them at all. It's one of those things where in a secured environment, when you have a piece of equipment, you really should have that piece of equipment working. Because if it's relied upon, even if it's only by 50% of your employees.
So did they request that you replace the three?
I'd actually requested to him to do a final count.
Okay.
And then I went out and got costs to do it. Yes.
HVAC, didn't we just do something with the HVAC over there?
This is actually for an air compressor. So we have a dual air compressor which runs our pneumatic valves throughout the facility. We have one side that needs to be rebuilt, so that's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Carpet on the second floor?
Carpet on the second floor. That is, let me pull up a picture.
Where at?
I'll show you.
Your office. Would you like your office?
I know it ain't my office, it's been 15
We've
years.
been waiting for ours.
Oh,
We've been waiting
come
for our
on.
offices.
No.
We're gonna get them soon though.
I might find something here I can vote on.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll get those carpet done when we take that new employee on. for the- pay that.
We'll put him to work real quick.
Let's see, what would be the best way to shrink this baby down?
Never seen
Yeah.
so many friggin' pictures.
Is that green, the new carpet?
There we go.
Can't be.
Everything that's in green is not earmarked to have new carpet. Everything else is.
So you got the boardroom, the recorder, elections engineer, auditor. And it's been a while for all those areas?
Actually, when you look at the auditors, there is no carpet. It's tile, VCT tile. Same with the engineer. Elections.
You want to go to carpet from tile?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, when we were asked, employees, a number of employees were opposed to carpet in our office, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
Would it be similar, you're talking about what we put in here, Rory?
It's, what I've budgeted for is identical to what we have over in the assessor's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a while in those areas, I'd say.
Huge project, really is. I'm looking at a minimum of 16 days to accomplish this. As you can imagine with the furniture, this is going to take some serious coordination, and I put that into my cost for this. I put in a amount that I feel comfortable with that
Okay.
will take care of the furniture.
Well, those guys that did the assessor's office, as they get the bid, they'll be able to get it done. I never seen a crew work like
Yeah.
that before.
The thing about the assessors, and you're absolutely right, they did a great job, but they had an empty room too.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. As you can see, our staff did this, which they did a wonderful job. We got to that point and we had to move on to something else, and we haven't been back.
Sure did.
Yeah, I can see that.
Again,
It's obvious.
a little plug in for this maintenance position.
Another plug.
All right. Let me bounce back. Does anybody have any more questions before I get off of that screen?
Now, let's go to your capital.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry. I should have brought Abby up. She could have been running this back.
Okay, you got carpet, elevator, equipment, room modifications. So that's a code on the elevator?
Yes, that is our lovely new 2020 code, which we've known about and was in our 5-year.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of do some explanation on that because for the courthouse equipment room, literally what they want me to do is put a chain link fence, some sort of barrier around that elevator equipment, authorized use only. My first response was, it's in the penthouse. can I just put a sign on the door saying authorized use only? And then everybody that needs to go to the penthouse needs to be authorized. They said, yes, that's fine, but I want to point your attention to the items that I have put down as seeking variance, and that is machine room, Pinecrest machine room, and Pinecrest pit modifications. Both of those, I just put them on this list so I can kind of remember to explain. Those are very, very large items. Over at Pinecrest, we have an 8-inch sewer line that's literally running in the pit, elevator pit of that facility. We're asking for a variance. We feel that we have a very good shot at getting that variance, being that we're talking about a 100-year-old building, and financially, it just does not make sense to look at ways, look at or moving that pipe so it's not in the pit. And it's been like that for years and years. So the elevator companies are telling us that they feel we have a very good shot at a variance. I would have to make a trip to Des Moines, pitch my case, but that's what we're planning on doing. As well as the elevator machine room, what they're saying is you can have no overhead pipes in the machine room. And if you've ever been over to Pinecrest in the basement, there's not an area in that basement where you don't have overhead pipes. They're everywhere. So it's unrealistic to think that we can just reroute all of these pipes. So we feel we have a pretty good shot. But the reason I went ahead and put the 2 items that I did on there is because I wanted to be able to go to this board and say, look, we got these 2 items done per your request, but I'd like a variance on these other 2. So that's all of it needs to be done. I just think I could have probably argued defense on the courthouse, but I chose not to go that route.
Okay.
Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to do these items in order to get the bigger fish taken off your plate.
That room renovation,
All right.
is that yours, Grant, or
Yes.
what do you want to do there?
Well, Rory can discuss it better than I can about the details, but there are a number of very heavy books there that are difficult to, just difficult to lift and awkward to get to. And so we're looking at reconfiguring the space in there.
So the biggest cost is where, Rory, in that?
What we're looking at doing, like Grant had mentioned, is it's an ergonomical thing. You've got some employees where the island that they work off of right now is it's very not user friendly, and we're looking at putting in 2 desks in there. We're looking at modifying that island, bringing it down. We're looking at putting in new cabinets for file storage. That's kind of the gist of it.
We've changed employees there, haven't we, over there?
We changed what?
Employee?
Yes.
Okay.
So really, it's just it's making that area more ergonomical.
Sure.
And that's literally all it is. Is we're looking at not creating any back strains potentially for our employees, and make it more user friendly.
Okay.
And I've witnessed, I will say, I've went in there and I can see where that could potentially be a problem.
Well, you have to set it up for anybody to be able to run it.
Okay, so courthouse directional kiosk, lobby area doors. This is a request to put this project together, and what this consists of is our entry doors in the courthouse, which I believe we had the 8 of them.
You about them outside doors that are locked?
Yeah, outside doors.
I got the whole file on this, so.
You had 8 of them?
We've got 8 entry doors, and then we're also looking at the interior doors.
Oh.
So what are you looking to replace, the door, the reason?
Aesthetics.
The condition of them, or?
Somewhat. The laminate's somewhat peeling on a few of them, but very dated. As soon as I get my pictures here, I'll show you which ones we're looking at.
Okay.
I'm telling you,
We like giving you a hard time now.
it is. I am not striking a real good average here.
Well, it wouldn't be bad
You
if
got a
you
lot
had,
of stuff.
had a place to find them right away.
Well, and if I could see,
You could see.
I didn't realize I
We
was
need to
so
get you a
blind.
monitor. We'll get
You want to delay this till another day so you can see?
Oh my God, it's embarrassing. I mean, I got bifocals even. I'm thinking I'm going in for trouble.
Anyway, there are interior doors that you want to replace, Rory?
Yep, I got it here. So yes, all the entry doors. So you've got the vestibule doors on your main entry. Those stay. Those are new. They're
You're talking about the next two?
The next two that you go through, we're looking at those as our entry. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the exit, and you have 1, 2. No, sorry, you got 2 on the entry, 2 on the exit, and then the same on the other side of the lobby. So you have 8 of those entry doors. Then you also have your interior doors, which are, I call them man doors. Let me just kind of go through the pictures here. So
Why would we replace the doors on the other end?
That nobody uses.
appearance, aesthetics, looks, they're dated. But with that said, we would try to utilize everything we can. For an example, we would try to utilize the kick plates. We would utilize kick plates. The door closers, we would repurpose those. The new doors that I'm looking at for the entry would not be laminate. They would be a metal door, which would become primed, and then we would have to paint those doors. Can't zoom in enough to really give you a good idea, but some of the laminate is peeling on those.
Go down and look.
There's one of the interior doors.
I don't mind that. There's one by the security that looks pretty bad too.
Treasurers, what I proposed doing in the treasurers was actually putting in a solid door without the windows. And the logic behind that is when 4:30 rolls around and they do close those doors, if there's somebody still in the courthouse, they want to go over to the treasurers, those doors are shut. They don't see the lights on the inside and start knocking on the
I
glass.
think the windows might have been put in there for a purpose, Rory.
I was gonna say, just, yeah. you
That,
read about it.
panic bar, you're getting out, make sure nobody's on the other side.
You talked to Reed about this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd almost have to think they were put in that way so they could look in there if there is something going on.
Look in or out. I look at it more so if you open up the door, you're not hitting somebody. You know, back in those days, they probably had the doors shut possibly.
Yeah.
All the
It's
time.
open now.
Yeah.
That door there, I think, has been always kind of a pain.
These doors here. What we would do here, if you notice the second floor restrooms, I would propose kind of mimicking that look for the interior doors. Any questions on the doors?
The ones that we come through every day, you know, are they shot or is there something wrong with them? Because I hate replacing something because they don't look right.
That, I can't say, Tom, that there really is anything functionally wrong with those doors.
Because we looked at those doors when we put the new vestibule out there, we were going to do something, and we decided at that time that they were good enough, so.
It was approached to me, it was more of let's get this main lobby updated. You know, we did such a nice job on our ceilings and our lights. We've also repurposed some of the benches in the lobby, if you haven't noticed. And these doors, I think, is just kind of the last leg of getting that lobby area looking more updated.
Sure.
So.
I say just before we move on from the doors, I'll just raise it because I've had a couple people contact me about it recently, and so since I wasn't here when that decision was made, I don't fully understand what all went into it, but just the why it's not possible to use the 5th Street doors with the security setup.
Well, everybody came in the back door because that's where the parking was at.
And the security system, once that was set up, I think Ed Luck.
I think I think that's when it happened. I don't know. It was way before I got here too.
Yeah, because I'm like you, as far as there have been people that have said they'd like that opportunity.
Very little parking out there. They come in that door anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's been a topic of, Chris, that's been a topic of conversation within the.
That's probably right, Grant. When they started security, that's when they closed off that end.
I'm trying to cast my mind back and.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while, but.
But it does
I can
create
do a
some-
little checking. There might be something in the record on that.
Because if we're talking about aesthetic improvements to the lobby, nothing would be more aesthetically pleasing than entering in through what was designed to be the entrance of this building on Fifth Street, which kind of better connects us with downtown and
Yeah. The walk-
rather than walking
seeing
through.
people in traffic, that was.
There's a,
I just think the majority come through the parking lot side, and that's where they put security. Otherwise,
Right.
you'd have to hire, well, you'd go double to the other end.
I'm also thinking, just because of the configuration of the offices, and they knew they'd have to take up some space, and where would they want to, where would that work out best? I mean, it used to be the sheriff's office was down there. I think the entrance was closer to that end of the building, but when that moved, it kind of closed that off, and so it might have made it easier to just place the apparatus there.
Yeah.
yeah, and there's been a lot of discussion in the security committee that we've formulated. We actually took a hard look at that, and it was actually some ideas thrown out as far as making that the main entrance, reserving this entrance for emergency vehicles. And when you think about it, it's right up against the building, so we literally have delivery trucks, you name it, pulling within inches of our building.
Yeah, but when you closed that down to build that vestibule out there, just look at the people that couldn't walk, wheelchairs, everything trying to get around from this parking lot to that front, and it was a nightmare. So that was really a big factor. Because they can't park out there for two reasons. They're not gonna pay a meter, and chances are there isn't that many meters out there anyway, so they're gonna park back here. But if you remember, Rory, we had to get wheelchairs, and we even had courtesy helping people come around that building, so yeah, that'd be a big deal if you did that.
But looking at it from a security standpoint, it was worthy enough of a discussion a couple different times, and we do have some minutes from those meetings if you're interested in looking at that.
I think Dan and I are the new members of the security committee, so that
yes.
we can keep that conversation going.
All right. Okay. I'm up there.
You on TV?
You're not on ours, so yeah.
Look good there.
Well, Rory, looks pretty good.
All right.
Let's see what else you got there. Carpet, elevator.
There's some that don't have amounts, Rory, I don't know if.
Electronic directory, first floor.
Yes. This is an item that, if you recall, this was also asked of me to put something together, and I do apologize. I've done quite a bit of research on this, but I haven't pinpointed a dollar amount yet. But if you do recall, back in 2012, we did a full directory sign kiosk project, and that went over really well. Just kidding, it didn't go over very well.
No, but I think signs.
It was very
are still right
expensive.
up there. I think when aesthetics, we've got those old signs and some of that old stuff around it.
So I've got kind of a vision in my mind and how I see this happening. And what I'm trying to put some dollar amounts together is a digital, electronic, whether it's a monitor to replace the existing directory that's downstairs, that can essentially be tied into our server, let's say, and somebody's in charge of keeping track of what the information is on that directory. For an example, if there's a meeting in 201 or down in the basement, or if we had a solar system that we could put up that live generation up there. So I kind of have a visualized idea of what I'm looking for. I don't, unfortunately, have that dollar amount.
It's only as good as keeping it up to date.
And you're right. That's absolutely right. And the minute that somebody does fail to update the information, then that does make us look like we're.
And then what information do you want to share to the public on there also?
Yeah.
We could certainly have a better directory down there without having.
Yeah, I think we.
Greg brought up a great point with the Employee of the Week program. That could be a really good opportunity to throw something like that up on this screen.
That's another thing, though.
I really don't want my picture popping up.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Just things like that. It does get us, updated and.
Yeah.
Something to
So
consider.
Okay, what else you got there?
the signage on First and Second, again, just improving the aesthetics of our facility. I had put some numbers together back in 2012.
It's
I didn't
expensive.
want to share those numbers today because obviously they're going to change somewhat. So if the board doesn't mind, I would like to come back with some more detail on this,
Yeah,
on these
maybe
couple of
I'll-
items.
Didn't we change some signs when you brought that the last time?
No, I don't think so.
We never
Uh,
followed through with it?
We had a
We had
template of a
that.
sign for the boardroom
You still
and
got it downstairs.
we,
Oh, you still got it
we went back
downstairs?
and forth on
That
it.
was like $500.
It was pretty pricey.
Yeah.
For the whole courthouse.
That was a kind of a special design. I wouldn't propose going to that extreme.
You'd be surprised all the signs that he come up with, how much it cost.
It was.
Well,
I remember it was
$44,322 to be exact.
Yeah.
But you still see so many people get off the elevator and can't identify where they need to go.
Yeah.
They look and the
Just,
signs are just.
yeah, exactly. And if you look at second floor of the kiosk, what I envisioned is in the middle of the lobby, it would literally look like street signs. So you get off your elevator, you have a sign going recorder, you have a sign going assessor, auditors, and that can all be accomplished. It's just I need to find an outlet where I can find what I want and get a good number. So, and I'm working on that. So, okay.
Parking lot crack sealant, this one out here?
Pinecrest. Yep.
Pinecrest?
PC.
Yep.
PC.
See up there.
Yeah. PC is Pinecrest.
Didn't we just do that a couple of years ago?
We did the lower lot. This would be for the upper lot.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
VA renovation. This is literally hot off the press.
Now you're talking about the lower level, we're gonna keep them there, just
The beds.
knock down some walls and stuff?
Yep, I'll show you here. Let me get to it here.
It's got some pictures.
I got some pictures.
That seems a little high for keeping them in the same
We're
area.
ready for pictures.
Just-
You said you were impressed.
You just got to be patient.
Well, we're good at that.
It was at 6.
Close at 4:30.
Whoa. There you go.
12:35.
Next one, you got county tree, they can be about 6 foot tall by now. You've been
All
going.
right, I am.
Take your time.
As you remember, there's been a lot of discussion on this. I mean, we went from putting a building behind a Pinecrest facility. We looked at JCS. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been a
Conservation.
ton of back and forth on this. And
So what's your current plan? Is it that lower level?
This plan now is, if you see here, this is the existing VA department.
Okay,
What helped us with this plan was case management moving out of Pinecrest.
Sure.
And so by them doing that, allowed us to take county social services, move them up to fourth floor, move DHS, which currently occupies this area here, up to second floor.
did you move Cedar Valley Promise yet?
They will be, but not yet. They're part of that move. Yeah.
With the new employee.
Yeah.
The additional employees.
So this is our plan. Right now, and I'll kind of go through this, from this point here where I have my mouse, going over is all going to be new. This is a new entrance coming from the parking lot. This parking lot out here, kind of where the dumpsters sit, if you're familiar with that facility. That's the north side. We call this the north side of Pinecrest. So this would be entrance into the community center. Just to kind of give you an idea of how it'd be laid out, this is pool table, ping pong, some chairs, little gathering area. We did incorporate a small little kitchenette right there. Great use of space. The server room, this is the only room here that would remain. Everything else would actually be open. So all the walls, interior walls would be removed. I know it's a little hard to tell from this. Maybe if I zoom in.
What about signage for that? Then you'd almost have to have something on the back of that building
So
there.
what I would propose is on Logan Avenue, I would propose having the VA department have their own sign pointing into the backside of that parking lot. So as veterans are coming down Logan, they pull in behind Pinecrest and then their own parking lot right by the center.
Is that handicap accessible?
It can be, and part of the, when I get to the price, part of that price is factoring that in.
Any security problems having a door like that in the back of the building?
No more so than what we've had.
It's currently locked now, right?
This one currently has a fob on it, yes.
Yeah.
Independence.
I do want to point this out because it is significant. Right now, this is open. So this is the main lobby of Pinecrest, and I know it's kind of hard to tell. But as you come down this hallway, these are the 2 restrooms that are being remodeled, by the way. Now there'll be a door put in place. So it's going to kind of segregate out this community center from the rest of the facility.
So everything's gonna come through the back door?
In theory, all your veterans, whoever wants to come to this community center goes to that through the back door.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the only other question I'd have on that is,
You'd have to go through there for the office too then, right?
For the office as well.
the only other question is, do we want to wait for the new director to have input in this?
Let me just clarify. They wouldn't have to go back. They could still walk through that hallway, but we wanted to put a door there just to create separation. You can still go through that door because we can't lock that door because it's a means of exit. But I talked to Kevin this morning, and this is what Kevin indicated to me. He has a donor that is sitting on approximately $35,000. And he feels that he can still get generated another approximately $100,000. What I haven't shared with you yet is the cost for this. Let me pull it up.
We had 200 and some on the,
Yeah, but I want to show you the breakdown.
so in other words, you don't want to wait for the new director.
We're at budget time now, so.
Yeah, I understand it.
I think it's been a pretty clear priority of the commission, and will remain so. So even, I think that those on the hiring committee are probably
That's fine.
talking about it in this process too.
I really like this design. I know we've been talking about this one, we've been beating this one to death, and I really like this design. I think that building with the parking lot on the north side is set up perfectly for it. We're not putting them in a whole nother building. We're, accommodating what we have.
So that cost can come down then and with the contributions.
According to Kevin, he feels very confident he can get $135,000 put towards that.
Do you have everybody moved out of there right now?
No.
They're still in there? What's your timetable on moving them?
We're getting very close. We're finishing up on 4th floor, and then so our next phase is moving county social services up to 4th. And then at that point, we can start moving them out.
Okay.
We've got to be within the next 2 weeks, literally. That's how close we're getting, so
Okay.
we're close.
One other funding stream question that we had, you said the bathroom just came in, it's like $99,000 under budget. That was bonded money, so it has to be spent on capital projects. So that's
Right.
potentially 99. I mean,
Keep in mind, there's some engineering fees that weren't included,
Right.
but that was about $7,500, so you're about
Right.
almost 63,000 probably, so we budgeted 150, so yes.
We already bonded for that, Susan?
Right, that was included in our 2017 bond issuance.
Okay.
And Chris, you're right, we will have some remaining proceeds, and now that the bids have come in, it will increase that a little bit. I'll need to go back and check to see what will be remaining in both of those bond issuance.
Roy, why did we miss that so bad? Because we based borrowing money.
There's
on
actually
it.
logic to that. When we put that project together at the beginning, we looked at doing something very similar to what we had here at the courthouse. Since then, we've had a pretty substantial amount of vandalism going on at that facility. I mean, we had it 3 times where people had poked holes in the drains of the urinals and the sinks. So I kind of took a different approach to how to set these restrooms up. We went with more of a monolithic flooring, so we went with the continuous flooring rather than ceramic tile, which will still look very nice, but it'll be more vandalism proof, I guess I would say. And then also, we are going to repurpose the partitions. For both of those restrooms, we're going to reuse those partitions. Those are 2 things that drove this price down. The other thing was when we originally budgeted it, we anticipated a pretty extensive mechanical portion to these restrooms with the age of the building and where these water supply and sewer lines were going to be oriented with ADA. And when we finally started getting the design and really going through it, it became obvious to us that there was just very minor adjustments that needed to be made.
Your design actually changed from the time you originally costed out.
When we do a budgetary number, we go in until you start actually getting into the nitty-gritty of it and looking, with a engineer or an architect, sometimes those little minor things can turn into huge items. So fortunately for us, and I realize I don't like to miss a budget by that far. Fortunately, in this case, we're in the right direction, but still, as you said, you bond for that money. You want to
Well,
keep.
the way I look at it sometimes too, obviously it's nice to come in under budget.
Yeah.
But it's not nice to continue to do that because you're borrowing money and taxing people for something we didn't need. And this isn't the first time, and I'm not talking about your area.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we've been known to have quite a bit of money left over.
Yeah.
And we need to get a little closer to them because we're taxing for it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't necessarily want to speak for everybody, but that certainly is our goal. And every time we do a project, that is our intent. And we do try to reach out to all the resources that we can to get as close as possible.
Sure.
This boiler project, I feel like there was a lot of legwork that went into putting this design and trying to come up with what we felt was a good budgetary number. At the end of the day, it's valued engineering. That is a budgetary number. But anyway, VA Center, pretty excited about the layout. I think it looks very nice. I think Kevin is very pleased with it. I don't know. Do you have any other questions for me?
Well, I think you're going to have to progress on getting the area open first, getting the people out of there, and then.
Well, keep in mind this. This wouldn't be till July.
Yeah,
obviously. Yeah.
Tree program, Roy.
Tree program. If you recall, I came to the board. It's been a while back. I think we were looking at putting 8 trees over in the employee parking lot on the median between 7th Street and the employee parking lot. And the board had asked me at that time to take a harder look at maybe some of our other facilities and get some suggestions for trees. And so I did that, and what I came up with, if I can find it.
And the purpose of this is to.
Well, the purpose of what I initially were looking at over at the employee parking lot, again, was aesthetics. It was to provide some shade down the road once these things got to that point. But that was kind of the motivation at that time, and it's still that motivation now. So what I'm looking at, in addition to what we've already presented for the employee lot, which was the 8 trees, I'm looking at 9 for the courthouse. And that would be 9 on this east side, so between 6th Street and the parking lot. We have 1 tree out there now. We would be putting an additional 9. And basically what I did is I used the setbacks that we put together for the employee lot, and I used the recommendation from the forestry department over at the city of Waterloo, and that's how I arrived at that number of trees.
Is that Waterloo land or county where you want to put these trees?
It's easement, so that's why it'd be ultimately, depending on the situation, it'd ultimately be the city's property. Unless you're moving snow or doing something like that, then it becomes our property.
There were some concerns over on the employees. I thought it was something to do with plowing snow.
Yeah, snow plowing.
Well,
And there was, and those concerns came from us. That came from our department. But again, I was asked to put this program together. But yeah, there are concerns. We're moving snow. Anytime you have a tree that's in the way, it's another obstacle.
Sure.
And we went through that in pretty good detail, I think, when we talked about the employee lot. Those are valid concerns, but at the end of the day, I do believe our staff is good enough that we could figure out how to work around those issues.
I think you felt like you had enough spacing in between the trees to accommodate that.
But they would
Wasn't there a security too? If you had an employee going over there, it was dark. Right now it's open, you can see.
Rather
than having somebody hide behind a tree.
Possibly, I know when we were talking about the jail, and that's why you don't see anything for the jail. I know Tony was very adamant, he didn't
He said
want-
hands off the jail.
Yeah, he didn't want any trees, and rightfully so. But no, that's a very valid concern when you're looking at that, because we've had employees,
know it.
you go down there after work right now, and it's very dark.
Yeah.
We do have a camera, pointing towards that parking lot, but that's after the.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the issues too. Almost.
Could very well be. The other, just real quickly, the plaza, this tree's dying. We're going to get it removed. It's at the plaza. We just want to replace it. And then out west of the courthouse, there's one that we just had taken down. Conservation helped us with that. We want to replace that. That's our tree program. It was much bigger. It was bigger because I was looking at Pinecrest. Well, if you recall all the solar panels that were out back behind, that was my tree program. Trees and solar panels don't mix, so I got rid of that. If the solar project doesn't go through, there's a potential then maybe next budget we can revisit that and look at planting some trees back there. So, all right.
So 19's a liquid number. 19 trees. It's kind of a, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the number I came up with. That is our, I know it, I wish I had a fancy PowerPoint showing you where all the trees are going to be at, but I
Do
don't.
we have to check with Waterloo to put them in them areas?
I'm actually working with Waterloo Forestry
Okay.
Department.
They
So
don't
I'm
have any
consulting.
concerns?
No. And whether or not the offer's still on the table,
They were gonna water.
I had an offer for them to come through and water them, so.
Yeah, that, because we were worried about them getting through
Yeah.
summer. Yeah.
Because we don't have, that's one of the problems, we don't have those means. Now, I may be able to reach out to Mike and get something worked out through him, but at the time, the forestry department offered to do that for us. There's one other item that.
I don't know.
Some of the trees, yeah, weren't they, the aesthetics that you're
Yeah.
adding over there was like rental properties and.
Was it this
correct? Isn't
Yeah.
that the same area?
sidewalk adjacent to
Yeah.
plaza replaced with drainage?
I'm sure that most of you have probably noticed the sidewalk that's over by the plaza. We've got a significant dippage going on there, and when we do get water, it literally turns, yeah. We have a problem. So what I want to do is redo that sidewalk along with drainage. And I want to take the drainage even a little bit further. I want to take it out to the plaza area underneath drainage, but I want to also hit the part of the west side of the courthouse, because we're starting to see some issues in the county attorney's office. And if you recall, about 3 years ago, we put a significant amount of loads of dirt along there with the hopes of building that up to take care of it. And the problem is back, not as extreme, but there still is an issue.
Is that a tripping hazard there? That sidewalk?
If somebody were to try to walk through there when it was flooded, absolutely. Yeah.
Surprised Waterloo didn't tag it.
It's private property.
It's private.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
okay, you're talking about the walk.
Right over by the door over there, Tom.
Yeah. So.
Anything else?
I'm sure there is. Let me look.
Well, we're gonna go Thursday, Susan, so Rory, if there's anything else you feel you didn't get the opportunity to go over, we'll start out with you to pick up any loose ends if there are,
Okay.
and then we'll move on. Who do you got Thursday?
This kind of wraps up the departments. We have county social services. Bob Lincoln is coming. We need to talk, we haven't really looked at the board agency budget, which includes like planning and zoning. So we haven't looked at that one. But then we want to talk about salaries, and then I just want to talk about a variety of, overview things. But we need to go back through all of the capital requests that have been presented and talk about how, if you want to fund those, how we want to fund those, because we have various, sources that we can use and how we want to do that.
Now, we've had just about a request from every department on an employee. Is that currently in, like the recorders, the treasurer, the IT,
So the ones that have been included were really the ones that they brought with the request. So Rita had that request. That was included in the numbers that were presented. So we can back that out. I mean, we can look at that, what that is. I believe that's the only additional position that was requested that we've got included. Rory's position is, it was already a position, so it is in the budget. But if you want to look at that, the salary projections, and I'll put those out on the board budget so you can see those positions out there. But we can talk about those, specifically to
Well, I
Thursday.
think not only the capital that we have to go back through, but some of the departments too, because we didn't give a yay or nay on a lot of them.
Right, yeah. No, we're going to go just through each department, but it'll just be broken down: salaries, operating expenses, capital, and just
Are you
revenue in total.
too far, or is it too far away yet to come up with a number that we can start working with?
That's what we're going to look at on Thursday.
Thursday.
We're going to have various options. I mean, I do kind of have that number, but there's still a lot of factors that can
Sure.
impact that.
Sure.
The other thing we need to talk about on Thursday is the rural fund. If we leave it the way it is, the way it's been in the past, we're looking at almost a 20% increase in the tax rate on that rural fund if we don't do anything right now. That's pretty significant. And actually, I was just looking at it the other day, and we would need to look because there's a limit on the rural basic, and then we'd have to be looking at a rural supplemental. So I'm going to talk to Tony this afternoon about the patrol salaries and benefits, but we can look at that on Thursday about possibly moving a portion of that back to the general fund. I'm not sure. But I do want to look at also moving the consolidated portion to the rural fund, which seems more applicable, that it should be there. But that's another discussion. So, we can discuss all of these things on Thursday. We can also come back next Tuesday for more discussion. I don't want to rush any decisions, but.
I think we are going to be
next
doing
week.
it Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those may.
And the following
I
Thursday,
mean,
too.
eventually, we're going to have to start making decisions, but
Some probably will.
it basically, all we did was go through all the budgets. We didn't
Right,
really
you just
do it.
listen to all of their
Same
presentations.
thing with
and requests.
nonprofits. I think we can go through that list real quick and determine what we want to.
One idea I have for that is if in the past couple of years, we've kind of gone through the list. I know I presented, and you weren't here yet, Dan, but I would like to have a more formal process for the request and funding of those. I've sent you some samples of other counties that use an application process or at least a form that the agency would fill out to request funding. And then maybe that could be discussed, possibly you could have a committee to look at those and then make a recommendation to the board. You could determine like one total dollar amount that, you want to fund nonprofits, and then decide later how you want to divvy that up between the various agencies.
I think instead of jumping around all the time, the committee worked well when we had the money coming from solid waste. So that wasn't, they did a good job there. I think we need to get a fixed amount here and then we'll go through it, and that's all we're going to fund, and maybe it'll be half of them, maybe it'll be all of them, and be done with it with that fixed amount. But I think we just need to set up a criteria, because there was a few, 2 or 3 years in a row, maybe 4, that legal aid never even showed up. And you're not gonna, if they don't request or come to you automatically, you're not gonna give them anything.
Right, but I know we've had people reach out, and they're really kind of expecting or looking for a process
Yeah.
of like, how do I make
Well, we
my
had that
request?
process for quite a few years with that solid waste money. It just went away about, 4 years ago, 3 years
Yeah,
ago?
because it was
Yeah.
2 years.
So we did have a process in place, but even then, they applied, got it, and then next year they automatically thought they should be on that list again. So you can come up with the perfect process, but you're still gonna have trouble. I think we need to come up with that dollar amount, but then again, what if we're in trouble this year?
I think
Visit it every year too, and
Yeah.
say, not
I
this year.
think the basics of a process that I want to see is just have an online application and then have a clearly published set of deadlines for when people need to apply. So just really, not you don't have to have the full elaborate process that every other, grant making agency has, but just some of the basic stuff. So this is the clear deadline of when you need to apply. This is a list of things that types of activities we're likely to fund. And these are the expectations of what we have as far as your accountability for them. But
See, solid waste had that. It couldn't be for salaries.
Mhm.
And, but they also had a lot more money to
But
deal
once we
with.
give it to them, we didn't know what they did with it.
Yeah, so,
But then they came back, like I said, they knew the amount of money then, it was decided this is all you get, and so they came back with the funding, and then there was a committee that we had kind of appointed people in place. They looked at it, reviewed it, made the recommendations to us. We could have changed it had we wanted to, but
And we
it worked
did.
well.
We did
Yeah,
over
but
the
very
years.
seldom did we say, no, we want to give to somebody else. It was just.
Well, and the other thing you gotta remember too, the people that these agencies are helping are the people that are hurting to begin with, so if we don't have money to give away, we can't be taxing for it, raising taxes to give them some money to help them out. Some of them, like the 4-H, I still have questions on that, about why they don't combine, and they never did give a good answer on that. Well, we're one of the ones that don't want to, or because they can't send their, I said to Dan when we walked out that day, why couldn't they have something else besides that to pick their
That's still my question on them is why, they responded back, we got that email that said, we're not gonna tax for it. I'm like, I wanted to say, well, yeah, no kidding.
That was way back to John.
That's what you told us before.
Say,
So.
like, then why should we
yeah,
tax
but
for
they
it?
just obtained that ability here just a few years ago, taxing the,
Right.
I mean, we provided insurance for, I think, 2 of the employees by code. One, and they pay for that now, but we said, because you're a taxing body, and so they took that one back. It was a director, I believe. And, but you're right.
That board, those are elected officials, and grant people don't pay as close of attention to that stuff as they should, but maybe they would if they say, this is why the quality of our fare isn't increasing, is we got this board that's elected that's not supporting it, and not this board. It's not us that I'm talking about, but it's.
Anything else?
I just want to mention that we were supposed to have a nonprofit here today. She was here earlier during the board meeting. When we took that short break, I didn't have a chance to say anything to her, and I don't know whether she assumed that we weren't going to get to her, or maybe she had somewhere else she needed to be, but she left, and that was the focus on diabetes.
Did you get a letter from her?
Yes, we got a letter.
With a dollar amount?
Right.
I think it's 15.
And that's fine.
Yeah. So she was here, so.
She can come back next Tuesday.
Yeah, it's not a month.
Well, she could. I
back.
hate to
It's really
make her
up to
come
them
back.
to present the case, but as long as they send a letter in there with the request. But it does look like we got quite a few more this year, and it does look like some of them up their cost. And I think we're gonna have to make some tough decisions
Well,
here.
maybe that's where we allocate an amount this year and go forward if that's what we want to do, and then we could do the process later, because it.
And again, I don't know, I think that dollar amount will come down to where we at on our numbers here.
Well, that's what I mean.
We're not gonna raise taxes and then have to,
No.
I think that defeats the purpose, just like I heard.
It does.
Motion to adjourn?
Anything else? Then we'll continue Tuesday, so motion to adjourn in a second? Thursday. When it's cold out. You sure you wanna cancel this because of the cold weather?
We could move it to the afternoon if you
No,
like.
no, that's fine.
Okay. Well,
So,
might.
you haven't talked about the weather at all. I'm getting a lot of contacts from other counties. People are asking what counties are doing, so you have no plan